Should be able to hear me okay. Maybe I gotta turn this brightness down just a little bit. Oh wait, that's turning it up. Maybe turn it down just a little bit. Maybe I'll be a little bit better on there. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. Yes, it's been a long time, Micah. It's been a minute. What up, though? How you been? How's it going? It's late. I normally don't be super late, but I don't know. It's been a lot. Been on the road and shit, but how's it going, man? What up, though? I'm hoping that this chapter is gonna be better than last chapter. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Hopefully you can hear me good. But let me change the things so I can see every comment that pops up. Okay, I think I should be able to see everything. But yeah, it's been a minute. But T-bait, 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 that is kind of the main thing I've been kind of posting about. So I haven't really been posting about the other book that I've been listening to. I don't know how I feel about the one that I'm listening to now, so I haven't really been posting about it. But T-bait should be good though. This is 486, A Great Gathering. So it's cool to see what's gonna happen after the Ekalia, I think that's how you say his name, who had showed up with the whole, oh yeah, Arthur needs to come in with his own race, part of the Great Eight, or it's gonna be the Great Nine or whatever. So I'm really cool to see what happens with that and like where that goes. But but yeah, T-Bay's still cool. I just didn't know when I was gonna make a video, but better late than not doing it at all. So I'm just gonna do it. I don't know if I'm gonna get through a couple chapters or not. I might just do one. I might just do the second one. I guess it depends on how I feel after reading it though. But yeah, I'm guessing you read the chapter already. Is it cool? Is it exciting? Do we get some more information? I'm really curious how the story's gonna end though. Like, he should be coming up on the 12th book. The 12th book's supposed to be the last book, so I'm really curious how it's actually gonna end. But we'll see. And then after T-Bait, I can still do some other stories or whatnot. I just need to stream and post more regularly. That's kind of what I just need to get into, just doing it more regularly. But in the meantime, between time, I'm kind of just doing it when I feel like I want to, just because, getting things set up and being able to talk and stuff like that for a long time. So, because all my videos always end up being super long. I can never just make a short video that's just like, oh yeah, I talk for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I mean, normally those are just regular videos that I just kind of post and I do lives. But anyway, let's just get into it then, because I don't know if I'm gonna do 2 chapters or just the one. So 488, A Great Gathering. Let me make sure I got everything I need. I need some water over here in case I'm thirsty. So it should be cool. Nice cat. I don't understand what that means. Maybe these some new people. I'm not sure. But what up, though? What up? Not sure if y'all are reading T-Bait, but I'm about to go live listening. Or no, reading chapter 486 of T-Bait. So let's get into it then. All right. So Arthur Lewin. It was Lord Ekalia who met us. Yeah, I think that's how you say Ekalia. I think it's Ekalia. But it was Lord Ekalia who met us inside the entrance. So yeah, so that's right. So he popped up, and then you got Meyer. Meyer was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna communicate to you telepathically, whatever. You my man, all that shit. Anyway, it was Lord Ekalia who met us inside the entrance to Indrath Castle, not Kez's. Huh. Okay, so met us inside the entrance. So now we're going back to Indrath Castle, because before they was in that one lady's territory, but now they're going into Indrath Castle. Okay. Although I wasn't surprised by his presence, have you read the author's POV? No. Turtle Me? You talking about Turtle Me? No, I haven't read his POV. I haven't really been keeping up with the author. I kind of want to start doing, to be completely honest with you, I kind of want to start doing live reactions to the chapters of Primal Hunter. I've been liking that story. I really been liking it. It's like a cool story to just kind of listen to, with the main character's kind of badass, and he kind of is not a simp, and he's not a bitch, and he fuck people up and shit. So I kind of wouldn't mind doing some live chapters to that, because the author of that story, he makes a chapter on every day. He makes a chapter every day for that story. So I could like let a few of them kind of build up, and then kind of post a video making like, a reaction to like 3 chapters or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe I might do something like that. But I haven't even posted anything about Primal Hunter on the channel, so I'm not even sure if anybody's aware of it or if they're reading it. But no. Going back to what you said, I haven't read you said the author's POV. I haven't read the author's POV. Oh, you've been waiting? Oh man. Oh, you've been waiting for me to read it before you read? Oh shit. See, now I kind of feel bad because I've been having you wait. Some weeks. Well, I'm going to get through both chapters. I'm going to get through chapter 486 and 487. So at least we can try to catch back up, because I think only 2 chapters have been released, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, we'll see though. But yeah, I'm kind of feeling bad having you wait though. But anyway, let me see if I can go back to where I was at. Okay. All right, so he wasn't surprised. I was pretty damn surprised to be there at all, regardless of which. So I'm still trying to understand. Like, or before I even continue reading this, though, it has a huge twist. So what do you mean it has a huge twist? Are you talking about this chapter, or are you talking about the author's POV? So, see, I don't know. I guess it might be on Patreon. I guess his POV is on Patreon. I'm not even subscribed to the Patreon anymore, to be completely honest. I kind of go off and on for when I subscribe and when I don't subscribe. So I kind of subscribe. I've been subscribed for like the past, like, I guess like 8 months or so. But then I went off, and then I went back on, and then I went off. So it kind of just depends on when I'm reading and when I'm not reading, because I'm not about to be subscribed to if I'm not about to read the chapters, But yeah, I have to figure it out. You keep asking for a shout out. Shout out to you. That's what I would say. Shout out to you. Anyway, so let me get back to the story though. So I was pretty damn surprised to be there at all, regardless of which Asuran lord stood in front of me. My readings gotta. I'll probably get better as I keep going. Regardless of which Asuran lord stood in front of me. This is what I was gonna say. So I'm still kind of confused as to like why he took Kez's like threatening to like kill him and shit. Like, he's taking that so easily. Like, he's not even fazed by the fact that like Kez's literally tried to kill him like a second ago, and then he just kind of like brushed it all to the side, just like no big deal, and went back to go meet his parents and shit. And I'm just like, yo, like, he tried to kill you a second ago, and then you just cool, just like chilling, it ain't shit. So that's kind of funny to me. But yeah, so what was that? So yeah, so Kez's, all right, regardless of which Asuran lord stood in front of me, I had expected Kez's to shut down yeah, that's his first name, right? Lord Ekalia, but his first name is Varun. These names, man. Why can't it be something like, I don't know, Victor or some shit? You know what I'm saying? Like a basic name that I can pronounce. Veruns. I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna say Veruns for now. Veruns' idea that I should be recognized as the new branch of the Asuran race immediately. Instead, he had agreed to hear the other great lords out. Then he and Myra had left. Now, barely a day after he threatened to murder me, right, that's what I said, like a day after he threatened to murder me, he would be presiding over a meeting where his peers discussed the possibility of my becoming one of them. Lord Arthur, Lord Sylvie, so good to see you both again, Veron said, smiling like he meant it and waving us forward excitedly, the skin around his milky white eyes wrinkling. I peered into those eyes, wondering just what kind of machinations hid behind the cloudy film. Hey, I'm here too, Regis said. My companion was in the form of a large shadow wolf, his back coming up above my hip. Purple flames shimmered around his neck and along his tail, and his bright eyes flickered or flicked from face to face, marking each guard and Varun himself, vigilant despite his flippantness. Well, of course you are. You three make up a special kind of trinity, don't you? Yeah, don't you? The old Leviathan sighed, his thoughts seeming to turn elsewhere. After a long moment, he gestured for us to follow. Yeah, gestured for us to follow. Turned on his heel and marched quickly along the entrance hall. There was little time to look around or consider where I was. My mind was occupied with the many potential ways this meeting could go wrong. Since the effects of King's Gambit, even power only partially allowed me to follow several of these threads at once, it also enhanced my ability to devolve into delve into the undercurrent of worry. Varun greeted several of the dragons we passed by as he led us deeper into the castle. Although they were respectful to him, most eyes lingered on Sylvie instead. Servants and guards bowed deeply, and a few Asuras, who might have been Indraths or courtiers from another clan, seemed to barely constrain themselves from rushing up to meet her. I sometimes forget that you're such a stranger to your own people, I thought, as an Asura with radiant blonde hair and lilac eyes tripped over his own feet as he tried to bow but forgot to stop walking first. Sylvie gave the young man an empathetic smile as we walked past. I can't help but wonder if that otherness was on purpose. My grandfather didn't know who I was, really, or what I would become, keeping me at arm's length, a curiosity rather than a member of the family. Wait, who is talking? Is this Sylvie? Sylvie gave the young man an empathetic smile as we walked past. I can't help but wonder if that otherness, what does that mean, otherness? If that otherness was on purpose. My grandfather, which I think it's her. She's talking about Kezis. My grandfather didn't know who I was, really, or what I would become, keeping me at arm's length, a curiosity rather than a member of the family. Created a buffer to ensure I didn't negatively impact the Indrath clan or Ephiodus. Okay, I see what she's saying. So she's saying that, like, even the time that they were together, he kept her at arm's length, so that way she wouldn't impact the Indrath clan negatively or positively, because she was just a curiosity to him. So that makes sense. The Arthur POV is the name of a light novel that has a huge twist at the end. Sorry for not explaining it better. Oh, so wait, so the Arthur POV is the name of a night novel. So is it separate from T-Bait, or is it still part of the T-Bait world, or is it just like the author's point of view of how he came up with the decisions that he made? I mean, I guess you can kind of explain more about it, because I'm not sure about it at all. I'm actually curious, but maybe it's something I can check out at some point. But okay, let me turn up the brightness real quick. Shit. So he kept her at arm's length so she wouldn't impact the family at all. So that makes sense considering who he is, though. But that's kind of crazy, though, because it just shows that he didn't really care about her at all. He was just curious, like, okay. Like, I wonder if I talked about this before, but like, is it normal for an Asura to be bonded to another human being? And it's so crazy because it's just like bonded to the point where they can talk to each other telepathically. I wonder if the people who they get into relationships with, right, who they marry and create a bond with that way, I wonder if they can create a bond with each other. I'm talking about the Asuras. I wonder if the Asuras can make a bond with each other when they get married or something like that, to where they can communicate telepathically the way that we just saw that Kez's and Meyer may have communicated with each other. They may have communicated with each other telepathically. So maybe they can bond with someone, and then once they bond, then they can communicate telepathically. So it's not something that is like special about Sylvie. Maybe it's something that all the Asurans can do. They just have to have someone that they bond with. You know, they have that bond, that level of trust or something like that. But it's crazy though, because they bonded like the minute that she was alive. So maybe it's not something you got to build up. Maybe it's something that you just got to choose to do. And I wonder if you can bond with more than one person though. I don't know. I don't know. Other than them being able to read each other's thoughts, it doesn't seem like Sylvie and Arthur have any. Well, they can read each other's thoughts, and they also get each other's feelings too. So other than those two things, I don't really know of any other effect from the bond other than just being able to communicate telepathically and be able to feel each other's feelings and thoughts and stuff like that. So it's just something I'm curious about. Just another thing that if he wanted to, he could dive into that and kind of give more details about that. But I don't think we really don't know a whole lot about the Asurus to begin with. You know, we need to learn more. Maybe this last book we'll learn a lot more about it. But okay, so he kept him at arms. She kept her at arm's length, and she was more of a curiosity, which shows that he doesn't really care about her like that. It's just more of a I'm curious to see. But she also said, see what I become. So what does she mean by become? Like what path she goes down, like the Avum Vivum Spatium branch. Maybe that's what she's talking about. Anyway, so the next part, padding quietly beside me, Regis looked up at Sylvie. The dude's scared of what you represent. Change in the alternate path. Oh, right, because she changed her path, right? She went from Vivum to Avum. So the dude's scared of what you represent. Change. Right. That's right. Change, because remember, the reason why the Asurans aren't as powerful and can manipulate ether the way that the humans can is because the humans are malleable. They're willing to change and explore, and they're curious. Whereas the dragons and just the Asura race in general, they don't change. They are who they are, and they're not flexible. They don't change their ways. They're kind of really stuck in their ways. So that's one of the reasons why they can't grow the way that the humans can potentially grow too. It's kind of like how, like, when you're born in Asura, you're born like at level 50. So you already have a much higher advantage than anybody else. But just because you have that advantage, you only can grow and get up to level 75 or something like that, right? So you only can grow, and your cap is at 75. But the humans, they start off way lower, so they might start off at level 1, but their potential can get up to level 150. You know, so that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Like, they start off a lot more powerful, but the humans, they have a lot more potential because of how malleable and, you know, willing to change they are. This is something that Agrona had talked about too. So it's kind of going back to the whole change thing. But yeah, so the dude's scared of what you represent. Change in an alternate path, an existence outside his little bubble. His tongue lolled out the side of his mouth as he grinned. He's right to be. Fuck, how do you say this fucking word? I know prodigy. The prodigal princess, I think that's how I say that, has returned. Regis snorted. 2 princesses, in fact. As Varun led us, he kept up a steady stream of small talk, providing facts about the other inhabitants of the castle, the portraits we passed, and the history of the clan Indrath and Kezis. I listened with one branch of my thoughts, but my main focus remained on preparing for the following meeting. So what is he going to the meeting with? I think he's going to the meeting late with all the rest of the leaders of the Great Eight. So I'm guessing that's where he's going. I was kind of confused about that at first. So I think that Kez already had the meeting. Now he's there to, I guess, get his input or see kind of what they ended up deciding, I guess. What up, though, Animation City? I remember you coming in for the streams. You're a little late, but we ain't that far into the chapter though, so you made good time. And I know it's late too. I normally don't be making lives this late, but anyway, So yeah, so he kept up some bunch of small talk as we passed the inhabitants of the castle, the portraits we passed, and the history of the clan. And he listened with one branch of his thoughts, but his main focus remained on preparing for the following meeting. You know, Regis, you could be a princess too, if you wanted, Sylvie thought back to our companion. If Arthur becomes Lord Leywin and you are born directly to him, then you become a princess. That's true because yeah, he was born directly from, well, from both of them actually. Excuse me, I am a magnificent weapon of untold destruction. With a snort, Regis patted ahead, moving to walk beside Varun. That's no reason why you can't wear a tiara. She glanced at me, especially if you chose one that matches Arthur's. They got jokes. She really got jokes about his King's Gambit and his fucking tiara and shit. It's a crown. It's not a tiara. It's two different things. Um, I caught Sylvie's eye and we both smiled. Some of the tension eased. Varun led us out onto the balcony that overlooked the cliffside. Although blue skies stretched away in every direction, a carpet of white-gray clouds hid the distant ground. We'll take a shortcut, I think. He lifted up from the ground and drifted like a wisp of cloud. Yeah, a wisp of cloud, moving slowly upward. Regis became incorporeal and moved into my core before Sylvia and I followed. Despite his claims of taking a shortcut, Varun's flight was unhurried, like mist on a gentle wind. He pointed out windows and turrets, statues and engravings. He even stopped to admire the rest of a small bird, or the nest of a small bird with shimmering black and red feathers. Mountain wings, Varun explained with a look of pure childish fascination. As his milky eyes, he's acting so much like a child, like just like, oh yeah, we'll try this. Oh, I'm interested in this. Oh, you see the birds? You see this? Like it's so amazing. Mountain wings is what they call it. Like he's just like he's being so free spirited, but this motherfucker is so sneaky and he's trying to hide it, yo. Man, oh man. We never seen the Great Eight. We seen the Great Eight. We seen the Great. Okay, listen, I could tell you, Michael. So we seen the Great Eight back when it was back. It was like the last It was like the chapter before Aldir decided to get the fuck out of there. It was the chapter before that. So they had the whole Great Eight meeting. Remember with Aldir's, the leader of his clan. He was like pissed off because Tacey ended up getting killed by Arthur, and Kez was just like, we don't know if that really happened or whatever. He just failed, and he was like pissed. And then he did that. Kez did that flare of his mana, whatever the fuck it was, and everybody just shook. They just like, oh, okay, we understand who's the king. Oh my god, You all remember that whole meeting they had? And they talked about, and he met like I think he met Ekalia too. Remember we heard something about how I guess like Aldir has some sort of person who liked him or it was some chick who wanted to be with him, but I guess Aldir was just too cool. He was like, nah, I ain't about to have no relationship right now. And what else happened? They was talking about the Phoenix clan. They was talking about who the allies were. They was talking about how the Titan clan were really close to the what are they called? What is Aldir's race called? The Pantheon race? Yeah, he was the Titan clans were close to the Pantheon race, but then the Phoenix race didn't like the Dragon race, and then there was one race that was really close to the Dragons. I forget what their race was, or that clan was, but yeah, it was during that whole thing when we saw the Great Eight. We never seen them. That was when we seen Dolores' daughter. Yeah, the daughter. That's right. Yeah, I think was it Ekalia? Was it Ekalia's daughter? I don't know for sure whose daughter it was. But yeah, that's when we first got introduced to like all the Great Eight and shit like that. I mean, we didn't. Did they introduce everybody? They might have introduced everybody. I think so. It was a while ago though, so I can understand if you kind of forgot. Like I said, we don't get a whole lot of the Pantheon race, or not the Pantheon. I keep saying the Pantheon, the Asuran race, and how they all think and what they all feel. So we didn't really get a whole lot of that. So I can understand you kind of forgot, but we need to get more. Honestly, I'm really intrigued. I got a lot of questions. Like, how long can they actually live? We still don't even know their lifespans. Like, do they live thousands of years? Like, is it 3, 4, 5,000 years? Or is it tens of thousands of years? Like 15, 20, 30,000 years? I mean, the way that they talked about it, how they said that they killed off generation after generation after generation of people who built up. Like, I'm thinking tens of thousands of years these motherfuckers been alive. So, but we don't even know how long they've been alive. Like, we never got into that detail. So it's just a lot we don't know. But I'm guessing this last book is where we're going to get a lot of those answers, because it seems like the most part is going to be about the Sorum race and Ephiodus and stuff. Okay, so he talked about the mountain wings, right? So he said that he explained with a look of pure childish fascination as his milky eyes stared at the bird. Also called the stone-cutting swallow or cliff swallow. They only live here, although they usually do not nest this high, preferring the cliffs of the Mount Gialis below. He turned his head toward Sylvie. They were a favorite of your mother's. Sylvie raised a hand toward the bird in its nest, hesitated, and pulled back. It watched her warily with beetle black eyes. It's lovely. Veron drifted onward, leading us toward a high balcony and one of the many towers. I wonder how well did he actually know her mother? That's another question I got. He landed lightly as a feather, then turned his face up toward the sun as he waited for us to land as well. Ah, a beautiful day for politics. One brow raised, he faced me. Are you ready, Arthur? I considered everything I knew, and the vast ocean of what I didn't, and gave the old Leviathan a tight-lipped smile. I suppose we will know soon enough. The balcony doors, made of glass or crystal frame and ornate coiling vines of silver, opened as Veron approached. The mana and ether were so thick in the air that it nearly hid the powerful signatures of those present within the chamber beyond. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust to the light as I stepped into the tower behind Veron. It's so funny to me that nobody else is there with him. Like, it's literally just Arthur. Like, Arthur is in charge. Arthur is the one that represents his family and the humans, and nobody else. He ain't got no backup. I mean, he got, okay, let me not. He's got Sylvie and he's got Regis. But I'm saying, like, no other humans is what I'm trying to say. No other humans there. Like, Virian's not there. I don't know, Veray, she's smart. Kathleen, she's smart. You know, maybe his mom. Nope, just him. But I stepped into the tower behind Varun. In that twilight moment where it felt like I moved between worlds, the hair on the back of my neck stood and my skin roughened with goosebumps. See, I'm so confused with a lot of things with the stories too. Like, he goes back and forth between goosebumps and goose flesh. Goosebumps, goose flesh. Like, they mean the same thing, but he uses two different words for it. It don't make sense to me. Anyway, his skin roughened with goosebumps as I felt the hungry eyes of predators following me. The airy chamber clarified. Within, elegant white arches wrapped around the circular chamber, each one carefully carved and molded to look like the branches of a thin tree, or of thin trees. These opened to similarly arched windows and balconies identical to the one I just stepped in from. The light of these many windows and glass doors reflected around the room, making it almost as bright within the chamber as without. A large charwood table in the shape of a near full moon dominated the space. Its darkness was in stark contrast to the brightness of the walls and ceiling. 7 ornate, high-backed chairs sat. Is this exquisite? I don't know what word this is. I was about to say exquisite. It's not exquisite. It's exquident. Exquident. I can't say this shit. Hold on. Maybe my phone. Nope. It can't. It can't even like. I'm gonna skip that word. I don't know how to say it. Okay, you guys can say it. I can't say that shit. So anyway, 7 ornate high back chairs sat along the rounded side of the table, while a silver and gold throne with gleaming gemstones floated several inches off the floor at the flat side. We were not the first to arrive. An Asura with dusky skin and smoky orange hair. Orange hair? Maybe it's I guess the Phoenix clan be having a red hair, right? With smoky orange hair pulled back in a bun and stood from the nearest chair. He wore a flowing sort of robe, reminiscent reminiscent words, reminiscent of the kimonos of Earth. Expertly, they probably stole that shit. Kill you, and then I'm gonna steal your clothing and attire. Anyway, expertly embroidered in shimmering threads that look like true flame. Okay, so it is a phoenix race. They look like true flame against the silky black fabric. His gray eyes seemed to take all of me in within a breath, and then he turned and gave a shallow bow to Lord Ekalia, the gesture of an equal. Lord Novus. Okay, we got a normal name, Novus. Okay, I can pronounce that. Lord Novus of Clan. Okay, so this is not Phoenix Clan. Of Clan Avigenus. This doesn't seem like that too hard of a word. Avigenus. That's kind of what I'm saying. Anyway, I said addressing the Phoenix member. Okay, it is a Phoenix. So I was right. I was like, oh no, it's not a Phoenix, but it is a Phoenix. It's just the clan name. Okay, clan name, but the race is the Phoenix race. That's just the clan name. Okay, I got it. Don't worry, I got it. I said addressing the Phoenix member of the Great Eight with a bow that was only slightly deeper than that shared by Varun and this Phoenix. I haven't been named an Asura or the lord of an entire clan or race or whatever just yet. It was important not to come across too presumptuous, but I also couldn't afford to be seen as a weak or tremonious. Yeah, I think that's how I said either. Whatever the fuck. Anyway, Arthur Lewin, a pleasure to. Hello. A sharp, airy voice cut across the Lord Avigenus' words. The speaker was a small one with light blue skin that seemed to move, almost as if she weren't quite corporeal. She had drifted out of her chair and was floating across the massive black table, bobbing around like an apple in a shallow stream. Her youthful face was split by a wide grin, revealing brilliantly white teeth that came to points. Her misty, what this is kind of describing to me is kind of looks like a shark. They say you can't come unless you have to throw hands with the sword. Yeah, I guess, right? Can't nobody else throw hands with a sword, right? I mean, otherwise they probably look at you as like weak and pathetic because they already look down on the humans and call them lessers anyway. So I guess them coming there will be like a fucking, how dare you breathe air in our presence? You know, some type of shit like that. Fucking crazy. But anyway, so this lady, she kind of reminds me like a shark, the way that she's kind of being portrayed, or maybe like a jellyfish. You know, with like, oh, not quite corporeal, because you know, like jellyfish kind of look like they're like corporeal or not incorporeal. Anyway, so you got sharp teeth, but that's why I say it's shark, because of the teeth, though. You know, like a light blue shark. Her misty blue gray eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as she did a kind of mid-air curtsy. Her dress, which seemed like nothing so much as a sort of windy mist that she wrapped herself in, fluttered at the motion. One small hand brushed through white hair that similarly floated around her head like a cloud. I'm Lady Arend? Is it Arend? God damn, I can't pronounce this shit. I really wish it was just normal words. I really do. I'm Lady Arend? No, that's not right. Arind? It looks like Arind, but it's probably not, because the English language is fucking stupid. So it's probably Arend. It's probably Arend, something like that. I wish I knew how to say her name. Like I kind of like the way. I don't know. Anyway, but as a soon to be member of the Great Eight or Nine, but that doesn't quite work the same. You can call me these fucking names. You can. I know, right? I went for one name, and then you're like, you know what? Don't call me that. You can call me this name that I can't fucking pronounce. Nefel, I think. Nephiel? Fucking, I don't know what the fuck it is. um, I think it's Nefeli, but it's an H though. Like, how the fuck do you pronounce the H? Like, the H has got me tripped up. It's Nephele. Like, Nephiel, Nephiel. Like, I don't know how to say it, man. This shit is stupid. Um, yeah, it's definitely something, right? Nephiel. Like, she literally said that, oh, you don't have to call me Aaron or whatever the fuck it is. You can call me some other shit I can't pronounce. Nephiel or Nefeli or I don't know. I don't know, you guys. Before Nutella, right? I can do Nutella. Fucking Nutella's easy. But before I could respond, the sylph did a flip in the air, flew to the room's third occupant, and wrapped her arms around the extremely tall woman's shoulders. Okay, so she's fucking crazy. So she literally did all that shit like, oh, you can call me this. And then before you can even respond, she doing a flip and hugging somebody else. Like, what the hell? Before I can even respond, the sylph did a flip in the air, flew to the room's third occupant, and wrapped her arms around the extremely tall woman's shoulders. And this is Mads. Okay, I can pronounce Mads. Mads is easy. The woman stood stiffly, her features practically carved of wood. She's probably one of those stoic women. She's like, I'm stoic and rigid, and I don't like to be touched, but I make an exception because you're one of the leaders of the Great Ape, so I'm okay with it. Anyway, so the woman stood stiffly, her features practically carved of wood. As I looked more closely, listen, at least tell me that you guys be having a hard time pronouncing these names too. Like, I can't be the one who's just struggling with these names, right? At least make me feel a little bit better by saying like, okay, yeah, I'll be struggling with the words too. I feel you. I feel you. So, I can feel a little bit better about that. So she stood stiffly. As I looked more closely, I thought I could see faint lines in her skin that did, in fact, remind me of tree bark. Please, Lady Errand, show some sense of decorum, she said, stepping sideways to break free of the green sylph. Greetings, Arthur Lewin. I am Lady Mapilla. Yeah, or Mapilla, representative of my clan and all the Hamadryads among the other great clans of Ephiodus. You are welcome. That was a very hesitant welcome. I just renamed them. What the fuck? What the hell do you be renaming them as? Is that what you just made up on the spot? Nutella? That don't even sound like her name at all. Let me see. What was her name again? It was Nefeli or whatever. So I guess my nickname. I guess maybe Naf. I think Naf would probably be good for that. Like a nickname, like Naf, Nefeli or Naphael, whatever the fuck the name is. I guess like Naf would probably be okay. Or Naphael. Maybe I could do Naphael or something like that. I know, right? The names are fucking crazy. Like, let's just get like, instead of Naphael or whatever the fuck her name is, let's just call me Daphne or some shit, or like call me, what's another female name that starts with an N? Like, I don't know. I was about to say Nathaniel. Like, I'm trying to think of a female name that's over the end. Natalie or some shit like that, right? Call me Natalie. Something. Anyway, so this is Lady Mads, right? And she's the leader of the Hamadryad race, right? Where are we at? You are welcome. There was a slight hesitation that suggested quite strongly that I was not, in fact, welcome. That's what I was saying. Like, oh, she got the dots. I'm just like, you are welcome. Like, yeah, you ain't welcome, bruh. You ain't welcome at all. Anyway, so there was a slight hesitation that let me know I wasn't welcome, and I looked more closely at the High Lady of the Hamadryads. There was no flicker of hostility in her butter yellow eyes, despite the severity of her expression and attitude. Outwardly, she would have been intimidating, but the simple river blue gown that clung to her ready figure and volumes of green hair. She got green hair? So green hair over butter yellow eyes. Interesting combination. But the simple river blue gown that clung to her ready figure and volumes of green hair that fell in thick ringlets are down over her bare shoulders served to undercut this expression. I repeated my careful bow. Thank you, Lady Mapilla. Matt, Lady Erinid said, or Erend, whatever, said in a stage whisper before bobbing to her feet. She's so childish. She's kind of like, what's her name? What's her name from, shit, I'm already forgetting her name because she's so forgetful. You got, okay, hold on. You got the fuck my life. I can't even think of these names anymore. Veray, Micah. She's kind of like Micah, just like childish and like kind of whimsical. I don't know. I guess that's kind of what I get from her. Whimsical, childish nature, kind of like Micah. But then again, I guess she's different because she might be childish and whimsical, but she can also, rip your heart out, right? So I repeated my careful bow. Thank you, Lady Mapilla. So mad, she had whispered. My name is... Okay, Morwenna. Okay. Morwenna. That's a little better. Morwenna. Okay. Lady Arend. The Hamadryad said in exasperation. At this moment, another Asura appeared from the stairway beyond, and I don't think we got these introductions like the last time. So we didn't get introduced to everybody, but we got introduced to some of the Great Eight though last time. So my name is Moriena. The Hamadryad said in exasperation. At this moment, another Asura appeared from a stairway beyond an open set of doors carved of some light-colored wood and bound, like much of the room, in silver vines. At first I thought he must be a servant or attendant, mostly because of the fact that he took the stairs instead of flying or simply appearing in the meeting room or the meeting chamber. Then I fully registered him. Although dressed plainly in a beige shirt, this motherfucker's, he's reminding me of Jason Asano, bro. He's just like, I'm gonna come in looking like I got my Hawaiian shirt, I got some shorts, I'm eating a cheeseburger or a sandwich or some shit. But really, I'm the strongest motherfucker around, like that's what kind of reminds me of fucking Jason Asano coming there just chilling, beige shirt, not even flying. He's like, I don't need to fly, I could just walk up here, get to know these steps. He had his beige shirt that stretched over his broad chest, bulging muscles, the belt that kept his leather breeches in valve. It reminds me of how they be talking and describing it in like these like sexual adult novels, whatever, how they talk about the guys, just his bulging muscles, his rock hard abs, and just they be so extreme with trying to detail these guys' bodies, man. But anyway, what was that? His broad chest and bulging muscles, the belt that kept his leather breeches was inlaid with gold and studded with strange multicolored gems. His beard was long and bushy, but otherwise well maintained, and he wore diamond studs in his ears. So he got the diamonds in his ears too. Sheesh. There was something very solid about the man, and his mana signature immediately reminded me of Ren. Oh, he's from the Titan race. I don't even know how to pronounce his name either. Fuck me. It's Radix? It could be Radix. What the fuck kind of name is Radix? I don't know. I mean, it's not terrible though. It's not a terrible name, but it's better than Varun. Radix? I'm gonna say Radix. We're going with Radix. Is gonna be his name. Perfect timing as always, Varun said, putting his hand on his back and gently guiding me across the table. Behind me, I heard Lord Avigenus, whatever, introduce himself to Sylvie. So this is the pup, eh? That's disrespectful as fuck. So this is the pup, eh? The man Radix of Clan Grandis, I now knew, strode forward and shook Varun's hand roughly. I had at first taken him to be a few inches shorter than myself, but as he approached, he seemed to grow. This motherfucker grows as he approaches. That's crazy as hell. Like, oh yeah, I'm short from a distance, but then I make myself get taller and taller the more I approach you, where you thinking to yourself, like, what the fuck, does this dude get taller? What the hell? This shit's crazy. That's got to be a mind fuck, man. That's crazy as hell. Like, oh yeah, he from a distance. You look kind of short. Seems like he's a few inches shorter than me. And then he gets closer. It's like, wait, what? What the fuck? Who are you? That's funny. Um, so this is the pup. Okay. Uh, so yeah, he seemed to approach and he seemed to grow. By the time he extended his hand to me, he was exactly my height. I shook his hand, which was rough as stone. His fingers clasped my hand with enough strength to shatter bone if my body hadn't been strengthened by ether. Whereas the other lords had so far focused entirely on me, Radix looked right through me to Regis. Oh, maybe he can sense that Ren is the one that was part of his creation. And so he was like, you got, oh, okay, I see what's in the Ren, huh? Ren Kane. Okay, I see what he's doing. So, so yeah, he looked right through me to Regis. His flint black eyes narrowed. Is that the signature of Ren of Clan Kane, fourth of his name? He rumbled. Instead of waiting for my confirmation, he brushed past me and knelt in front of Regis. Wait, I thought Regis was in his body, though. What do you mean he knelt in front of Regis? How did he kneel in front of Regis when Regis was in his core, I thought? Isn't that why he peered? He looked through him to Regis. I thought he was looking through his core. Okay, so I'm a little bit confused about that. That's an EDM name. Right. Instead of waiting for confirmation, he brushed right past me and knelt in front of Regis, who watched him warily. My companion's eyes widened when Radix took him by the jaw, forcing his mouth open. The Titan inspected Regis's mouth like a tinker might inspect a horse. He said only that, then stood, scratched Regis behind the ear, and finally tossed him what looked like a piece of dried meat that had appeared as if out of nowhere. Bruh, I can only imagine this scene coming out. Like, bruh, he just shows up, growing in height, right? And then he shake his hand, about to break his hand, and he just like, oh, he peering inside at Regis, or peering at Regis. I guess Regis is not inside his body anymore, but peering at Regis and then just like opening up his mouth and inspecting him and shit. And then tossing some meat and walk away. Like, that's some crazy ass shit. That's crazy as hell. So yeah, so he tossed in some meat that came out of nowhere. I feel strangely violated, yet flattered. Of course he says that. This fucking strange ass introduction. Regis said while chewing the meat. And my God, is this jerky good? What even is this? Radix slumped into his chair and kicked one boot up from the table. Kicked one booted foot up on the table. That's a special treat usually reserved for our guardian beast. When you're an Asuran lord and a member of the Fine Nine or whatever you So they already came up with the new name. We ain't the Great Eight, Great Eight Great. Okay, cool. The Fine Nine. I didn't even think about changing the first part to fine. Like, that's kind of funny. So the Fine Nine. What else could it be? Nine. I guess Fine Nine is probably the best you're gonna get. That's funny as hell. So when you're a member of the Fine Nine or whatever, you have to get that recipe. Regis thought desperately. I don't care if we have to go to war over it. One of the balcony doors opened of his own accord, and the shadow condensed within it. From the shadow stepped a thin man in black, battered robes. His dark eyes flickered around the room rapidly before catching on me. He fiddled. This might be the leader of the Pantheon race. From the shadows, stepped a thin man in black battle robes. His dark red eyes. Wait, dark red eyes. Oh, maybe this might be part of the fucking red eyes, right? So this is the what the fuck was Agrona? Agrona was goddamn. I haven't read this shit in so long, so I'm kind of not remembering the names of all this. The Agrona was a what the fuck were they again? They were the all right. If somebody remind me, what race was Agrona? Agrona was what race? He was the Vitra. I know the Vitra clan, but what was their race? They were Basilisk. Is that right? The Basilisk race? You didn't spell it right, but I think that I think you're talking about Basilisk. I think that's right. I think that's right. I think that's right. I think you're right. Okay. Yeah, the fine nine is funny as hell. So yeah, so the Basilisk. So I think this might be one of the Basilisk because they said that they still kept them there as part of the Great Eight. They still kept them. They didn't get rid of them. So yeah, the Basilisk. I think yeah. I just saw Basilisk. So yeah, that's right. I'm 100% right. His dark red eyes flickered around the room rapidly before catching on me. He fiddled with one of his horns, which sprouted from his forehead and swept back before curving forward again, pointing at me like two spears. I was caught off guard by the basilisk's sudden appearance. I had known logically that clan, excuse me, Kothan, Kothan, represented the basilisk in the Great Eight, but I had failed to consider what he would actually be. Oh, I was failed to consider that he would actually be present. Okay. I mean, he should have considered that, right? Making a snap decision, I strode around the table toward him. The basilisk watched me approach warily, not out of fear, I thought, but uncertainty about me or my intentions. I stopped before him and extended my hand, just as Radix had done. Lord Kothan's deep red eyes flickered past me to where I knew Lord Avignus, how the fuck you say that name, stood. Are they allies? I wondered. It made kind of sense. Both the Basilisks and Phoenixes had lost their great clans in the Vitra and the Asclepius. The part of my mind that was active with the magic of King's Gambit began dissecting this information. After a beat of hesitation, the Basilisk took my hand. Despite his somewhat frail appearance, he had a strong grip. Arthur Lewin, the human who felled Agrona Vitra. Suddenly, he released my hand and went to one knee. The air in the chamber seemed to grow very tense, and I could feel the weight of the other's attention threaten to bring me to my own knees. I don't know if the I. See, the English language is so fucked up because the I makes the I sound, but it also makes the I sound, but it also makes the E sound. It's fucking stupid. I think it's Rye. I think it might be Rye. Rye Kothan, representative of Clan Kothan, and all of the Basilisks Ephiodus owe you a great debt. He looked up to meet my gaze, and something blistered and wrathful and dark swam just beneath the surface of his blood-clot eyes. The Vitra clan nearly destroyed our race in their selfish pursuits. You have brought us justice that would not soon be forgotten. Even with King's Gambit partially active, I couldn't think of anything to say and only nodded firmly in response. Thankfully, Sylvia appeared at my side. She extended a hand to Lord Kothan, who took it with the same wariness in which she had watched me earlier. Lord Kothan, we appreciate your words and the intent behind them, but rest assured, the fight against my father was one we pursued for the good of all living beings across both our worlds. You don't owe us anything. Look at Sylvie coming in clutch. Arthur's just befuddled, just Sylvie coming in. Oh yeah, thank you, but he was a threat to all lives, so you don't owe us anything. Well said, I thought to her gratefully. Ra, or Rai, I guess it could be Ra too, but Rai, stood and straightened his battle robes. Without speaking further, he rounded the table and took a seat next to where Lord Avigenus, whatever the fuck you say his name, was now sitting. It seemed we're only missing the Lord of Pantheons and Kezis himself. Arthur, you and Lady Sylvie will join me here, Varun said, gesturing to where a gap had been left between his seat and Radix. Yeah, Radix. Or Radix, whatever. Directly across from Kezis' throne. It is customary that you stand until you are either dismissed or, in this case, offered a seat at the table. Nefeli, I guess what we're gonna call her, Nefeli laughed, and a cool breeze that smelled like sweet shrub and what the fuck is that? Okay, and a cool breeze that smelled like sweet shrub and what the gardenias blew through the chamber. Oh, this is so interesting. I stood in the expectant spot, Regis to one side and Sylvie on the other. The 6 gathered lords and ladies eyed me expectantly for a moment, then, as one, turned toward the throne. Suddenly, Kezis was sitting in it. This motherfucker just, whew, I'm just there, appears out of thin air. There was a flash. I'm just wondering, bro, like, if the Great 8 leaders all teamed up, they could kill Kezis, right? Right? Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I would think they could, but maybe they couldn't. Maybe Kezis is just that OG, or OP, and OG. The top G who's OP. Maybe that's what he is. So Kezis, but there was no, so Kezis was just suddenly sitting in it. There was no flash of light, no sense of movement, only a ripple in the ether, and then poof, he's there. His gaze settled on the only empty seat at the table. He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them to look at Lady Mapilla, or Mapilla, whatever the fuck you said. Lord Thyestes is purposefully taking his time, it seems, but he will be here momentarily. Until then, we shall wait in silence. This motherfucker, right? This motherfucker was like, we shall wait in silence. I don't want to hear you motherfuckers talk. I don't want to hear your voice. Sheesh, bro. That's crazy. That's so crazy. It's like, in silence, we will wait. Somebody gonna start talking, man. You already know somebody gonna start talking. It's probably gonna be Varun. Varun's gonna be like, so, Kezis, how have you been lately? I heard that you tried to kill Arthur Lewin. That would be some funny ass shit, bro. I would start dying laughing if somebody said that shit to him. It's silence, right? So wait, so then we will wait in silence. As his left hand, Lady Mapilla sat stiffly. Beside her, Nefeli fidgeted restlessly. The rest of the lords' demeanors landed somewhere in between. Kez's gaze settled not on me, but his granddaughter. Varun caught my eye as I was looking around and gave me a subtle wink. This motherfucker's always winking, bro. A full minute passed in this awkward, forced silence. It was finally broken when a tall, athletic figure landed on the same balcony we had entered from. The doors opened, and he strode in purposefully. This man, who I knew to be Adamir Thyestes, lord of his clan and all the Pantheon race, moved like a predator. He's still pissed, bruh. I wonder if he's gonna be pissed at Arthur for killing Aldir. Or maybe he thinks that he killed Aldir. Man, he might be pissed at Arthur, bruh. He might be pissed at him. But he's still gonna be pissed at he still should be pissed at Kezis too. Cause that's why he's late in the first place. He's like, fuck you, motherfucker. Okay. So the purple. So wait, where am I at? The doors opened and he strode in purposefully. This man, who I knew to be Adamar, Thyestes, lord of his clan and all the Pantheon race, moved like a predator. His forefront forward facing that try to say that shit fucking as fast. His forefront forward facing eyes. Try to say that shit fast. His forefront forward facing eyes flickered to me for only an instant before focusing on the empty seat between Lord Grandis and Lord Cothan. Or Cothan, yeah, Cothan. The bright purple eyes on the side of his head moved constantly, however, from one lord to the next, to me and my companions, and regularly back to Kezis. Kezis watched Lord Thyestes get settled for several long seconds. Because remember, Aldir was the strongest in his clan. I don't know if he was the strongest Pantheon in existence, but he was definitely the strongest in his clan. Stronger than Adamar, because we remember when they was doing a little test to like see how high you can go, when they was doing a little poses, he was like, I could go higher than him, but I'm not gonna go higher because that would be disrespectful to the leader of the clan, and so I'm gonna stay right here below the lord of the clan. So we knew that Aldir was stronger than the leader, so he was the strongest in his clan, but we don't know if he was the strongest out of all of the Pantheon races, because we know that only one clan is part of the Great Eight, but that doesn't mean that all the rest of the same races who aren't part of that clan aren't still around and strong as well. Like I said, we still don't know a whole lot. But what was I gonna say? What was I at? Okay, so the purple bright eyes on the side of his head moved constantly, however, from one lord to the next, to me and my companions, and regularly back to Kezis. Kezis watched Lord Thyestes get settled for several long seconds before returning his attention to the room at large. As we all know why we have been called together, and most, it seems, have already discussed the situation in more private environments, I guess. I expect this meeting will be a short one. The Hamadryad, Lady Mapilla, stood. Okay, the Hamadryad, Lady Mapilla. Right. She was like, let me see if I remember. She's the stoic one, right? No, that was Mads. Mads was the stoic one who was like tree bark, right? It has been suggested, it is her. It has been suggested that this human, Arthur Lewin, may in fact have evolved beyond being a mere lesser into what might be considered a new branch of a Soren family tree. She paused and stared around to ensure that everyone had heard. Our only task today is to decide if this is true. First, we open the session of the Great Eight to any lord or lady who wishes to express their opinion. She then sat. I won't be able to make that voice saying again. I won't. I'm gonna fuck it up. I glanced from the corner of my eye to Varun, but he remained still and silent. Surprisingly, it was Lord Thyestes who stood. Okay. Some meetings going on in some dark alleys. That's what's going on. He looked straight at me as he said, "It is nothing but wishful thinking that you all engage in. This lesser has killed 2 of the Thyestes and brought down the Vitcher as well. None of us wish to believe a lesser could do such a thing, and yet this one has. Instead of acknowledging reality, however, you seek to make him something he is not, because he is not an Asura. And even killing General Aldir of Clan Thyestes can't make him one." Silence. Kezis wasn't watching the Pantheon. Rather, he was inspecting me closely. Nefeli floated above her seat. So this is the whimsical sylph, right? Nefeli floated above her seat, let out a huff that made her flutter around. Only a Pantheon would think you earn your way to being an Asura by killing people, Adamar. Look at him. That's no lesser physique. I mean, he even has golden eyes. She turned thoughtful and looked at Lady Mapilla to her right. Do lessers normally have golden eyes? That's a good point, right? That's a good point. I'm not silent. I'm going to speak my truth. Ain't no such thing as my truth. It's either the truth or is a factual statement, right? Wait, Will let me to shut up. Will you? I don't even know what you're talking about, man. I thought you was making fun. I'm not sure. Anyway, um, Morwenna, yeah, Morwenna returned her look, stone-faced, and gave a small shrug. Adamar sat, his arms crossed. We've already heard by now the tale of Lady Sylvie's sacrifice and the physical rebirth of both their bodies. Perhaps she gave him some Asuran aspect. But how does that match up against the eons of evolution and empowerment that each of our races has gone through? I mean, okay, sure, he's not an Asura, but he's not human either. And he's not a dragon. So he's like, he's something new. He's something new. I don't know what you would call it, but it's something new. What was I say? Lord Grandis leaned forward, his elbows on the table and his hands folded into his thick beard. If we look at this boy's actions, then we are forced to consider how these actions were performed. The actions themselves aren't the reason we're here, only the catalyst for the discussion. His deep voice rumbled through the air so that I felt it in my chest. My clan has long made it our business to study the advancement of life and even to mold that advancement. There is no reason through the application of powerful enough mana or ether arts that a human couldn't become something more. And in that event, even if they did not evolve alongside the rest of the Asuras, a case could also be made for folding them into our culture for a variety of reasons. We shouldn't resist the urge to jump to a decision. Instead, take time to study Arthur further. Bitch, you're not studying me. You can study me from afar, I guess, but what are you talking about study? Like, are you talking about dissect study or like watch you grow up and live your life type of study? I'm not sure what they're talking about. While study is warranted, Rai of the Basilisk clan, Kothan, had raised a finger in the air as he started speaking. He hesitated in the middle of his sentence, shooting a furtive look to Kezis, who nodded very slightly. While study, like, bitch, he got permission to speak? Rai had to get permission from Daddy Kezis to speak? Oh, shit. Okay. So let me continue. So Rai of the Basilisk clan, Kothan, this is the dude who was like, this is the dude who was made out of chiseled. What did he say? He got taller as he approached him. That's that dude. He had to wait for Kezis to give him permission to speak. He raised a finger in the air as he started speaking. He hesitated, and then he looked at Kezis, and Kezis was like, and then he continued. While study is warranted, he began again, we shouldn't overlook the current situation. He stood, pressed his palms into the top of the table, and leaned forward. Agrona Vitra has been a danger to us for many hundreds of years, and his occupation of our motherland, the very soil that birthed Ephiotis, has been an insult and a threat. We have been shut off from the growth of the lesser world for too long because of Agrona, and it has blinded us to their progress. Arthur Lewin is standing here as proof of their evolution, and his service in defeating Vitra clan should be rewarded appropriately. But bruh, hold the fuck on though. Here's my thing. If they're talking about, oh yeah, we need to be able to observe the growth, right? The growth of the clans, of the human race and shit, right? They need to observe the growth. And this is our chance to study and to reward him and all this other shit, right? Then where the fuck were they when civilizations was getting wiped out by the dragons? Where were they? Like, hold on. Like, you motherfucker just wiped out an entire fucking species and colony and a whole world of these humans who built themselves up and got more power. You guys just wiped their ass out. Where the fuck were they? What about when the Jinn got wiped out? Where were they? Oh, wait. We need to study. Why are we wiping out the Jinn when... you know what I'm saying? Like, we still need to learn more because this shit don't make any sense. I mean, what's stopping them from just doing the exact same shit to Arthur if he starts teaching them some shit, and then next thing you know, you got more humans using ether arts, and the fucking more human beings are having integrated cores and shit like that. They just like, hold up, these motherfuckers getting too powerful. Kez come in, wiping their ass out. Are the Great Eight gonna be in? Like, hold on, Kez, you can't do that to them. You can't wipe their ass out like that. Like what's gonna happen then? Like, they don't even. We don't even know. Like, where the fuck were they when Jin was getting wiped out? That's my question. Anyways, so we should reward him appropriately. Let me see what you said, Animation City, because you made some big statement. Let me look at it. Not these ones, because remember, Mordain and Agrona are not there. If it was the old version of the Great Eight, I'd say maybe, but because they got these two new guys here from the weaker clan, so they aren't. Are you talking about they're not like as strong? Oh, I think what you're saying. Okay, I get what you're saying. You're talking about they won't be able to defeat Kestis. That's what you're talking about. I didn't know what you were talking about at first. Okay, so you talking about they won't be able to beat them because Mordain's not there, Agrona's not there. I got you. That's the Basilisk speaking and asking permission to speak, not the Titan, I believe. No, I don't think that's the Titan. That was that the Basilisk? Right. You're right. Basilisk. Yeah. I didn't think it was a Titan that was speaking, because the Titans are allied with the Thyestes. So the Basilisk clan, he asked for permission. Okay, Rai. I gotta remember this shit. Rai is with the Basilisk, right? Okay, so it's gonna take some time to try to remember all this shit. But Rai is with the Basilisk. So he was asking for permission because Daddy Kestis could have easily kicked their ass out and punished them for what Agrona did, but he chose to have mercy, quote unquote, right? And so now he's like, permission to speak, master. And he said yes. Okay, so anyway, I'm just talking so much shit. So they should be rewarded appropriately. The name of Sur isn't merely a title to be traded for political goodwill, Adamar snapped. The meeting dissolved into arguing and bickering. It only ended when Kestis sent out a pulse of Keen's force that drew all attention back to himself. We heard based emotional reactions, but none of you have presented any proof, only suggested we find it. Kestis' focus shifted to Varun. Right, Varun's the only motherfucker who's not even talking with. He's the one that suggested this shit in the first place. He shifted to Varun. I was told that this conversation had already begun, encouraging me to bring it into a more formal environment. Oh, maybe some politicking, bruh. So he maybe didn't. They say first time talking about this, so they never really discussed this. They're just discussing this for the first time. Varun got them schemes, bruh. He got them schemes. I was told that this conversation had already begun, encouraging me to bring it into a more formal environment. But I find myself unconvinced by what I've heard here today. Only Lord Thyestes seems to be making sense. I noticed Adamar's jaw tighten and his lips go white. He was like, I don't want no fucking praise from your bitch ass. He's probably pissed, like, I want no fucking praise from you. I noticed Adamir's jaw tighten and his lips go white as Kestis mentioned him. There was a stony look in his eyes that almost might have been hostility. I considered what I had learned about Aldir's fight from Ephiodus and realized that Adamar still harbored some anger about Kestis' treatment of his clanmate. Lord Avignus or whatever cleared his throat. Maybe this is like a setup because fucking Varun wants Arthur to learn more about how everybody interacts with each other. So maybe this is like a scheme to get Arthur to learn more about their politics. That's why he was like, oh, nice time for politics, isn't it, Arthur? Are you ready? Like, maybe that's what it is. Man, Varun's got me so interested, yo. He's got me so, he got some schemes, man. This motherfucker's a politician. He's like a good speaking politician. This motherfucker Barack Obama all over again. Shit. All right, let's see. Where am I at? Shit, where was I? Okay, Lord Avignus or whatever cleared his throat. Forgive me, Lord Indrath, but I don't think you're being fair to Rai. His words bring many questions to mind. Questions that I think would be best answered by Arthur himself. The Phoenix turned to look at me. So averageness or whatever is the Phoenix. Okay, he's the Phoenix. Let me remember that. Averageness or averageness, however the fuck you say his name. He's the Phoenix. Rye is the Basilisk. Um, 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 Adamar is Thyestes. Mads, I don't know what Mads is. They might have already said it. The Hamadryad. See, I don't know. Y'all would have quizzed me, I'll be lost. Anyway, the Phoenix turns to look at me, his gray eyes smoldering with flame orange sparks. We have all been made aware of certain facts, Arthur. You nearly died while channeling the will of a powerful dragon, Sylvie Indrath. But you were saved by your bond with her daughter, Lady Sylvie. The result was that your body became something closer to Asura than human. You have a core, but it is made of and manipulates ether instead of mana, empowering your body directly with ether, unlike even the dragons. And you channel certain ether arts, such as the ability you use to interrogate the ritual criminal Aladari. It remains unclear, however, exactly how you disable a grown ritual. The spark, bruh, he's like, you want to reveal your secrets, bruh. I ain't revealing no secrets to you. Like, what is this? I ain't no puppet. Like, I would fucking flash and God step the fuck out of here so quick. But then again, that motherfucker, cause he fucking just appear out of nowhere. So he probably couldn't get away quickly. I don't know. But anyway, so it remains unclear exactly how you disable a grown ritual. The sparks in his eyes flared, even though the rest of his expression remained passive. What power did you use? The Hamadryad, Morwenna of Clan Mapilla, hummed in irritation. How does this question help us in our consideration of Arthur's Asuran state? It was Radix who answered, leaning forward over the table now so that his chest practically rested on top of it. Of course, Novus, it was necessary for us to take on new forms to contain our growing power. Even back before our ancestors forged Ephiodus from the soil of the lesser world. In doing so, we branded our mana arts with our own specific strengths. While Arthur's use of ether is interesting, it is also rather obvious. He was granted the will of a dragon in addition to being bonded to Lady Sylvie here. That alone proves nothing. But this power that captured Agrona, his steely eyes hammered into me like he was trying to unearth the truth for me with a pickaxe. What was this power? Is this some lesser ability or a product of your exposure to the dragons? All eyes were on me. All eyes on me. Okay. All eyes were on me. So no one else aside from my own companions saw the glare Kezis gave me. The warning was obvious. Kezis is like, you better not reveal no shit to them before you reveal that shit to me, bruh. But when he really take him out in front of the Great Eight, though, like, he really was like, listen, so, I have the power of fate. I manipulated the power of fate to cut all his ties to his weapon, called the Legacy. I shattered those tethers. And that's what we can do. Which I still don't understand how that happened. Like, just because he got rid of his connection to Cecilia, how does that make him weak and unresponsive and shit? Like, we don't know. But yeah, Kezis is like, you better reveal that shit before you reveal that shit to me. So the warning was obvious. Regis, who sat down and was now scratching his ear, one hind paw, sent me a mental roll of his eyes. Oh, screw him. I say tell them. This is why I like Regis, man. Regis is like, man, fuck it. Let's just get into the shit. Let's just fucking wreak havoc right now. We'll just see what happens. This is a long ass chapter. Holy shit. Regis was like, oh, screw him. Just tell him. You're Arthur Lewin, master of fate. Cue evil laughter. Sylvie shifted beside me. Not to use his language. But Regis may be right. If Kezis has kept the revelation of fate from the rest of the Asura, revealing it may swing things in our favor. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, let's see what happens. I thought back to my conversation with Kezis over the fields of lava. Maybe, but we also don't quite see the whole picture yet. All of my magic is etheric in nature, I said in answer to the questions that have been posed by the Lord Grandis and Avishness or whatever. As I gain insight, I am able to tap into magic held within the conscious ether itself, forming what I've called God runes, pieces of powerful magic that are branded directly into my flesh. Oh, how fascinating, Nefeli said, floating over the table toward me. Can we see? Before I could answer, Varun coughed against the back of his hand, then stood slowly. Nefeli bit her cheek and drifted back to her seat. So what? Okay. Let's pause for a second. So why is Varun like, oh wait, hold on. Let's not get to the point where Arthur's giving demonstrations. So I wonder, what the hell is Varun's deal, man? Like, what does he want to accomplish? This motherfucker is like Batman, yo. He just got schemes. Well, I guess Batman ain't got schemes. But who got schemes? Who's really good at scheming? I'm trying to give a good analogy. Or a good comparison. The motherfucker got schemes. Like, he's like fucking, I don't know, Light Yagami, I guess. L, he could be something like that. Fucking motherfucker got schemes. So he coughed against the back of his hand and then stood slowly. Nefeli bit her cheek and drifted back to her seat. Varun's back straightened, segment by segment. This motherfucker. How you just straighten segment by segment? Just that shit's wild. Segment by segment. This motherfucker back just straightened. Giving the impression that he was even older than he looked. His smile, as he gazed blindly around the chamber, was tumultuous or tremolo. It's not tremendous. Tremulous. I don't fucking know how to say that. Yeah. In human terms, he seemed to have aged 50 years before our arrival, and now, but I couldn't tell if it was a show or somehow the result of the conversation itself. Okay, we're waiting for him to see what he has to say. Hands will defeat every Justice League hero. Oh, you're right about that. Batman, he fucking had plans like, oh, I'm gonna use this. Here's, I'm gonna beat Superman. I'm gonna beat you this way. Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right that I was right on the money with Batman. So, motherfucker got schemes. It is deeply correct that everyone currently gathered at this table is passionate about this conversation, he said, speaking slowly and enunciating each word carefully. Never before have such a thing been considered. We Asura are slow to grow, slow to change. It is not in our nature, and so we have remained only as 8 races since the failure of the race. Even the intermingling of our races have never resulted in a new branch of our long and storied family tree. Varun paused to collect himself and catch his breath. His milky white eyes seemed to focus above the heads of all those seated at the table. But we cannot deny what fate has placed right in front of us. For this evolution to happen now, as the situation with Agrona seemed to be building to a full-out war, it's certainly no mere chance. Arthur's growth, his transformation, was necessary for both our cultures to survive. Now we have an opportunity that we have never had before, to change and grow as people, together with the lessers whom we have so long been apart. Let Clan Lewin speak on their behalf. Be their voice. We cannot afford to let their world fester and spawn another Agrona. So this is actually key. This is key because he's encouraging them to think about growth. He's encouraging them to think about change. That's what we're missing. We're missing growth. We're missing change. But one thing about the one thing about Kezis doesn't want change. He doesn't want what change could potentially provide, which is a threat to his power. So he wants to keep things the way that they are so he can stay in power and keep his throne. He doesn't want change. But this conflicts with that. So I wonder how people are gonna like react to this. Are they gonna be like, yeah, we need change? Or are they gonna be like, no, we don't need no change? Or is Kez is gonna come in and he can be like, what you speak is not ideal or some shit. I don't fucking know what he's gonna say, but more political mumbo jumbo, right? The other Asura regarded Varun's thoughtful as he struggled to sit back down. This motherfucker struggling to sit back down, yo. Why he acting like he 10,008? I don't get it. I could see how his words has settled over them, changing the direction of the conversation in mere moments. They do not all respect each other, but they do him, Sylvie noted. I can't help but wonder if we're not being put in the middle of a building power struggle between the Asura clans. That's what fucking Varun be doing. He got schemes, bro. Got schemes. But he knows a lot, though. I can tell that motherfucker knows a lot. I traced back the threads of each encounter with Varun. Why did he give me the morning pearls? This motherfucker gave me the morning pearls, yo. Like, priceless ass jewels that, like, they will fucking fight wars over. And he just gave them. Like, here you go. Here's 3 of them. Not 1, not 2. Here's 3. Crazy. He still got 1 left. Why did he give me the morning pearls? I wonder yet again. Out loud, I said, thank you, Lord Ekaliah. I appreciate your vote of confidence. After pausing to ensure I had everyone's attention, I continued. When I was first told of this offer, I'll admit I myself wasn't entirely sure it was right, or that I even wanted it. Adamar's brows pinched together into a frown, while Morwenna turned up her nose slightly. She was like, you should be honored to even be considered to be one of us, bitch. Anyway, let me go. I have a home to return to, and people who rely on me that are probably suffering as we speak. Dicatha and Alacria need me, not Ephiodus. I let these words sink in. Kedis was listening politely, his expression otherwise carefully blank. Beside him, Novus whispered something to Rai. But listening to you all speak here today, I've come to understand something. At my mental command, Sylvie and Regis took half steps closer to me so that we were almost touching. Those people do need me to be here. They need me to protect them. And that means having a voice among the Asura. Nefeli had sunk down into her seat properly and had her arms crossed on the table, her chin resting on her forearms. It was difficult to tell if she was enraptured or thinking about something else entirely. I may not have been born among the Asura, but I have been entwined with your people since before I was even born, I said firmly. I have bonded to you, been trained among you, fought beside you and against you. And like a crucible, the presence of the Asura in my life have molded me into something other, something new. I looked directly at Radix, who had eased back into his seat bit by bit as I spoke. He was running his fingers through his beard, deep in thought. Not only have I gained great power and evolved beyond the limitations of my humanity, I, like the Asura, have transformed to contain this power. Releasing a sudden rush of ether, I fully activated both Realm Heart and King's Gambit. Vibrant etheric runes burned along my skin and beneath my eyes. My hair lifted up to drift around the crown of light floating above my head. Ether condensed in my channels until it shined through my skin in glowing veins. My voice resonated as I spoke. The words pierced together from a dozen parallel lines of thought. You have asked, and I will answer. The power that I wield is fate itself. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. 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 He made a show. He made a whole show of it. Like, oh yeah, I got the hair flowing up, got the crown now. You have asked, and I will answer. The power that I wield is fate itself. I I wonder what Kessa's gonna say. What's Kessa's gonna say? Man, I wonder if they gonna continue. I hope they continue with the next chapter, man. They better not bullshit me. They better not bullshit me, man. Oh shit. Okay. 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 Are we gonna continue? Are we gonna continue? Okay. Okay. We continuing. Okay. Ooh, okay. Let's go. Okay. 489 or not 489. 487. 487. You have asked and I will answer. The power that I wield is fate itself. The words, thick with the resonance of the ether that imbued them, hung heavy in the air. The full force of my etheric intent pressed down with the weight of all my power, responsibilities, and fears. And with King's Gambit burning bright and hot against my spine, my mind fractured into dozens of parallel branches in order to process every potential shred of information from the Asur's responses. Their eyes, all different colors, shone with the reflection of purple and gold light from the ether glowing through my skin and the crown hovering above my floating hair. Each Asuran Lord's reaction carried so this is cool. So he did this shit at the same time as he made a show, but it was more calculated than just a show. Like, not only did he want to show off his power, but he also at the same time fully activated King's Gambit so that he can process all the reactions at the same time and get his thoughts going. So calculated, man. Calculated. Okay. So what was that? Yeah, so their eyes, all different colors, shone with reflection of purple gold light from the ether glowing through my skin and the crown hovering above my floating hair. Each Asuran Lord's reaction carried a through line of true surprise, but each also was branded with a particular emotion individual to themselves alone. Let me take a drink really quick. Holy shit. So things are going, man. Things are going. Things are going. Okay, so what's gonna be the reaction though? He got, not only did he release Realm Heart, King's Gambit, but he also did full King's Force on all their ass. He's like, oh shit, they got, this motherfucker got the King's Force like that. Okay, sheesh. Anyway, so straight across from me, Kez revealed the least about his thoughts through his outward expression. His lips were slightly parted and his eyes dilated by a fraction. There was a stiffness in his shoulders, down his arms, to his left hand, which rested on top of the charwood table. This alone spoke to his surprise. This motherfucker gotta gauge his surprise by the stiffness in his shoulders, down his arms to his left hand. Like literally, his surprise is just stiffness in his shoulders. Like, what the fuck? Okay. This alone spoke to his surprise. It was the twitching of the small muscles that hand and the darkening of his purple eyes that gave away his anger. It wasn't a wrathful anger that was likely to burst the boundaries of his control, but a simmering bitterness that I registered distantly as being more problematic. Okay, so he thinks that bitterness is more problematic. Okay. Not because of any danger, but because I didn't fully understand it. To his left, Morwenna of Clan Mapilla, great clan of the Hamadryads, was giving me only half her attention. Her lips were pressed tightly together, highlighting the subtle wood grain pattern of her skin. She had pushed herself back from the table, and the muscles of her legs, hips, and back were tense as if she was ready to spring up to her feet if commanded. Every half of a second, her eyes twitched to Kez's. I think the Hamadryad, they're like really close to the Dragon Clan. I think that's what we remember from the last time we was introduced to them, right? Beside Morwenna the leader of the sylphs, uh, Nephili, or whatever the fuck you say her name, of the Arend, the Arend clan, had sunken down into her chair. Her mouth was open in an almost perfect circle, and a snapping wind was blowing around her, making her hair and the cloud-like cloth of her clothes wisp about. Her blue-gray eyes had gone lightning white, and there was something hungry in them that I couldn't quite parse. Varun, just to my right, was no less surprised than the others, but within his surprise there was something more. Under the influence of King's Gambit, I didn't feel any emotional response to what I saw reflected back at me in Varun's reaction, but I recognized what I should have felt. Because through the doddering old uncle act, beneath the feeble exterior he presented, there was a being much greater and older and most of all fiercer than he allowed anyone to see. In that instant, Varun couldn't hide himself. Some of the faded color returned to the ridges that ran along his hands, and there was a purple flush to his cheeks. The wrinkles smooth. Oh, so this motherfucker, this whole like the old act, that shit, when he really got surprised, like all that shit kind of transformed back to his real self. The wrinkles smooth and a grim, victorious smile flashed across his face. Even his king's force surged. The Leviathan hidden beneath the wrinkled old man, flailing to be set free. And beings of light descended, bringing with them magic unimagined. Wait, who the fuck is this? And beings of light descended, bringing with them magic unimagined, bringing with them power too terrible to behold. And they called themselves Deva? And they, in their power, were terrible, unimaginable. Am I reading this wrong? It seemed like something fucking happened. Is Arthur talking about this? And beings of light descended, bringing with them magic unimaginable, bringing with them power too terrible to behold. And they called themselves Deva. What the fuck is Deva? And they, in their power, were terrible and unimaginable. They marked the world with their power. And then they left, never to return. The softly spoken words... Okay. Who's this? The softly spoken words came from Lord Rai of Clan Kothan. The basilisk who had replaced Agrona among the great clans. Sitting to Kez's right, he was as pale as a ghost, and his hands, clasped before him on the large triwood table, trembled. Silence, Kez's ordered, without looking at the basilisk. Rai's words sent ripples through the room. Beside him, the Phoenix Lord. So what, is this like a prophecy of some sort? And beings of light descended, bringing with them magic unimagined, bringing with them power too terrible to behold. And they called themselves Deva. And they in their power were terrible and unimaginable. They marked the world with their power and they left, never to return. What the fuck does that mean? Silence. So Keza told him, shut the fuck up. Rai's words sent ripples through the room. Beside him, the Phoenix Lord, Novus of Clan Avigence or whatever, had been watching me with weary thoughtfulness. His brows creased as he fidgeted in his seat, but he stiffened as Rai spoke, glancing at the basilisk from the corner of his eye nervously as Kezis ordered silence. On Rai's other side, Adamir Thyestes crossed his arms and huffed. We should all be embarrassed by the utterance of fables and fairy stories at this table. But with the King's Gambit active, I could see the truth. The hairs on Adamir's neck stood on end, and the Pantheon Lord's breathing was shallow and troubled. He shot a glance out of one of the windows, and by the way his eyes focused, he seemed to be looking at something something long way away. Wait, what the fuck am I reading? He shot a glance out of one of the windows, and by the way his eyes focused, he seemed to be looking at something a long way off. Following his gaze, I could almost make out a village far, far in the distance, well beyond the range of sight, surrounded in green and blue grass. Simultaneously, to my examining the response of the Asuras, I was attempting to dissect what Rai had said. And beings of light descended, bringing with them magic unimagined. Beings of light. Could the magic be mana or maybe ether? Bringing with them power too terrible to behold. This is from the perspective of the Asura, I have to assume. What kind of power could be too terrible even for the Asura? And they called themselves Deva. And they, in their power, were terrible and unimaginable. I've never heard of the term Deva before. The repetition of terrible and unimaginable really drive this message home, but this is also a kind of Asuran storytelling I wasn't expecting to hear. They marked the world with their power, and they left never to return. This final passage, I didn't know what to make of. I reached out for Sylvie or Regis to help, but both had been forced to pull their minds away from mine, unable to stand the effects of King's Gambit. Lord Radix of the Grandus clan stood, his eyes which sparkled like the multicolored gemstones that studded his belt. Studied me intently. Lord Radix, okay. His own surprise had quickly subsided, and unlike the dismay that the others had displayed at Rai's utterance, Radix was intent, his eyes darting side to side in an indication that he was thinking rapidly as he considered something. The Titan took a step closer to me, stroking his beard. The mana was moving strangely about him, like it was acting as an extension of his senses, like he could see and feel through the mana itself. Although Radix had a similar signature to Ren, I have never experienced this phenomenon with Ren before. That is enough, Arthur, Keza said firmly, his voice tight with careful, concealed frustration, and I thought even a quiver of fear. I held his gaze for several long seconds before releasing my God runes and recalling the ether that was providing the glowing effect back into my core. I was left feeling sluggish without the God rune active, and I had to steady myself to keep from wobbling. You good? Regis asked, easing back into my thoughts. It's nothing. There's always some sense of sobering up when I release King Gambits entirely, I answered through the brain fog. Look sharp, Arthur, Sylvie thought, dragging my attention back to Radix. The Titan rested a hand on my shoulder, forcing me sharply back into the moment as my knees trembled from the unexpected weight of it. Ether flooded my body to strengthen my legs. My shoulder arched, and I realized that Radix was manipulating the density of his own body, to somehow test mine. May I? What the fuck is he doing, bro? What? Anytime soon. I know, right? The whole fucking the devil and shit. Like, this is all new shit. Like, how you introducing new shit and we supposed to be at the end? Like, we supposed to be getting things wrapped up. You introducing more fucking things that we need to figure out. The fuck is the devil? I'm guessing the devil is before the race, right? Because the race were the ones that was killing each other and shit. I don't know. I don't understand how it can be 12 books. We probably need to go to like 13, maybe 13 books, I guess. I don't know. So he said, may I? He asked, moving around behind me and reaching for the hem of my shirt, forcing Sylvie to step out of the way. Her brows raised in surprise. Was all I managed before the Titan had pulled up my shirt to regard the skin of my back. God damn, this motherfucker didn't even give him no time. He was like, may I? And then fucking came here with, like, bro, let me examine. Like, what the fuck? Pulled up the shirt and regarded the skin of my back. There, I knew he would see the false spell forms that the first gen projection had provided, meant to disguise my God runes when I was among the Alacrians. What I didn't expect was the tingling I felt within the God runes themselves. What the fuck? He got tingling within the God runes? They speaking to him? Through my connection with Regis, I felt Radix's eyes traced the connection between us before landing on my companion. Regis, this motherfucker's mysterious as hell, yo. Regis' hackles raised defensively, and I could feel Radix's penetrating senses outlining the shape of the destruction room contained within Regis' physical form. I see. The Titan said, his voice an earthquake rumble, and then he returned to his seat. I felt myself frowning, but before I could ask, Nefeli beat me to it. Well, do share with the rest of us. Rad. What's really going on here? The sylph was floating above her seat again, her hands on her hips. Her entire body rotated at a 30-degree angle. What the fuck? Okay. Radix leaned back into his seat, his arms crossed, one hand stroking his beard thoughtfully. I've seen enough to change my mind. I call for a vote of the Great Eight on the subject of Arthur Leywin's status as a new race of Asura. The sudden proclamation seemed to catch the others off guard. Now wait just a moment. We need to... But what did you see? It will be beneficial to all of us. Blessedly short meeting. Then we can... This is not a decision to be rushed. The last was accompanied by a heavy fist slamming down on the charwood table, making it jump, cutting out the other voices as they spoke over each other. The others bristled, even the carefree Nefeli, as Adamar glared around at the fellow lords and ladies. Adamar Thieses, he's like, fucking shut up! As Adamar glared around at his fellow lords and ladies, his keen force was like the edge of a blade pressed against my throat. Many of us at this table measure our lives in millennia. Okay, thousands of years, right? I know that. Millennia is thousands of years. You got a decade, you got a century, then you got a millennia, and then after millennia, you got... What's after a millennia? Do you guys know? I don't know. So many of us measure our lives in millennia. He continued, more control. In the centuries I have sat across the table from you, I have never experienced such a sudden urge for immediate resolution. His attention shifted to Rai. The decision to name Clan Colton to the Great Eight to replace the Vitcher clan took us 50 years, and even that was a short time in comparison to our deliberation on what to do about Agrona himself. Now faced with a question that, depending on our answer, could very well redefine the nature of our world for the next 10,000 years, we are supposed to vote based on a bare few minutes in the presence of this boy? Adamar's gaze fell to his fist still pressed against the tabletop. If you are set on forcing this vote, Radix, then let me be the first to refuse. The Pantheons will not recognize Arthur Leywin or his clan as members of the Asuran race. Anger flushed hot through me. He wasn't just voting against me, but stating plainly that he refused to accept the results of any vote at all. Regis, standing at my side with the flames of his mane snapping around him, reinforced my emotions. But Sylvia attempted to temper us both. Don't forget that the Pantheons are a warrior race. They meet challenges head on. And as far as he knows, you are responsible for the deaths of both Tacy and Aldir. That's right. That's right. That's right. So he's just like, you know what? I ain't doing this shit, bro. You killed two of my like they were members of his clan. Like they weren't just Pantheon. They were literally members of his clan. So he's gonna take that more personal. It may be that you're not the real source of this anger, Regis added begrudgingly, surprisingly. Realizing I was letting myself get frustrated, I channeled ether into Keen's gambit, only a little, just enough to expand my thoughts out a few simultaneous threads, which had the added benefit of dampening any emotional reaction I had to the proceedings. Those are dangerous words, Lord Thyestes, Rowena said, her eyes narrowing. A slight flush crept up her neck, again emphasizing the subtle patterns in her skin. Express your opinion as you wish, but remember that we all sworn to uphold the will of the Great Eight, even when we disagree with his decisions. Rai cleared his throat. Holding direct eye contact with me, he said, my mind has not changed. I vote that Arthur be named first of his race, head of his clan, and member of this council. Fucking Rise. Like, I don't give a fuck. I still vote. Sure. Me too. Nefeli fucking shit. Nefeli, bro. Nefeli is just all whimsical. She's just like, oh my god, share with us. Fucking, she just like hands like looking and shit, body all arched in 30-degree angles and shit. And she's just like, sure, me too. Like, she's not even thinking about it too much. Like, sure, me too. I agree. Express your opinion as you wish, okay? Sarai cleared his throat. My mind has not changed. I vote that Arthur be named first of his race, head of his clan, and member of this council. Sure, me too, Nefeli said, looking very seriously up the ceiling, having rotated half around so she was nearly upside down. Let's see what fate has in store for him, she chuckled suddenly and flew down to nudge Morwenna. Fate? See what I did there? She giggled happily to herself, apparently oblivious to Morwenna's icy look in response. Because of her personality, she's probably one of the strong. I guarantee you, bro. She's probably, like I said, she'll rip your heart out. She's like, oh yeah, I'm whimsical and shit, but then when shit gets real, she's fucking slaughtering babies and children and everything. She don't give a fuck. um, yeah, so she's oblivious of Morwenna's icy look in response. I've seen enough, Radix said in answer to the vote he himself called for. Perhaps, in the most traditional sense of the word, Arthur is not an Asura, but whatever transition he has undergone has brought him closer to us than the lessers he was born to. Speaking directly to me, he continued, I hope, Arthur, that you'll work alongside the grandest clan in more fully exploring these changes in the future. But for now, I agree that you should stand among us. I nodded, not wanting to promise anything yet. Most of my mind was still on Adamar's words as I considered the potential ramifications and fallout if he followed through on his threat to refuse the will of the Great Ape. I couldn't bring myself to believe that his hostility hadn't been accounted for by either Kezis or Varun, which meant that one or the other was likely working directly against him. Adamar shook his head as he stared around the table. Novus? Morwenna? Surely you won't fall victim to the wishful thinking of the others. You must agree with Lord Indrath and me. Adamar shook his head as he stared. Okay, so Adamar is looking at. Okay, so we got two votes in favor of Arthur. And then Kezis and Adamar are not in favor. So then they're asking Novus and Morwenna. Nutella. You said Nutella again. I just say Nefeli, bro. Nefeli makes more sense. But anyway, Adamar shook his head as he stared around the table. So it's 2-2. 2-2. Kezis and Adamar, and then what's his name? Shit. What the fuck was that? So Kezis and Adamar, and then Nefeli and what? Radix? Yeah, Radix. Oh yeah, so surely you won't fall victim to the wishful thinking of others. You must agree with Lord Indrath and me. Morwenna looked up at Kezis, whose floating throne made him slightly taller than any of the others. Kezis nodded. His face was so carefully placid that it seemed almost smug in the absence of expressed emotion. I am in agreement with the others, Novus said simply, his demeanor reserved. What does that mean? The others? Who? Oh, mate, Novus is in agreement with Radix and the fella. I am in agreement with the others, Novus said simply, his demeanor reserved. Morwenna's head cocked slightly, and she gave Adamar a hard look as she said, I bow to the will and wisdom of the Great Ape. I find myself convinced to, at the very least, give Clan Leywin their place at the table. We shall see what happens beyond that. Wow. So Morwenna said that she agrees with them too. So is that 4? I think Novus means when he said that he agrees with the others means that because he was answering Adamar. So Adamar said, don't you agree with us? And then Novus was like, I agree with the others. So I agree with what the fuck is her name? Nefela? Or whatever the fuck you said her name was. Anyway, so I think that's 4. 4 in Arthur's favor. Adamar scoffed, and almost in desperation, he turned to Varun. But the old Leviathan smiled sadly. I'm sorry, old friend. You know well where I stand on the issue. Adamar's jaw clenched and his expression turned stony. Slowly defeated, he looked at Kezis as if he already knew what the dragon was going to say. Okay. Kezis stood, carefully tossing his wheat blonde hair. There was a gleam in his lavender eyes as he tugged on the gold embroidered cuffs of his fine shirt. Sylvie shuffled her feet. Why does this feel staged? Bruh, I don't know. Is this shit staged? This shit crazy as hell how things just kind of... But the reactions couldn't have been staged, though. Arthur said that their reactions seemed genuine. Why does this feel staged? Friends, leaders of your perspective. Maybe he was already okay with Arthur being part of it from the jump. I don't know. Maybe he listened to Meyer. Maybe Meyer told him it's a good idea, you should go along with it. And then he was like, okay, I'm gonna just go along with it. And then he's just like acting like he's so mad or whatever, giving head nods, telling him it's okay for you to vote. I don't know. Friends, leaders of your respective clans and people, members of the Great Eight, I respect your opinions and thank you for sharing them. His gaze lingered long as on Adamar, and despite calling him a friend, there was no friendship in the look they shared. This body is divided, but the opinion of its majority is clear. While I'll admit I have my reservations, I am nonetheless in agreement. Arthur Lewin has transcended his nature as a human. Despite some draconic aspect, he is not a dragon, making him something entirely new. There was a cadence in his speech that reminded me of watching a play, just as Sylvia had suggested. Arthur Lewin is henceforth named an Asura. His lineage, that of an entirely new race, his clan, the Lewins, will transcend the boundaries between human and Asura, even if they themselves do not share his qualities. As leader of his clan, the only clan of his race, he is also immediately offered a place among us here, a member of the Great Eight. It'll need a new name, Nefeli said, in stage whisper to Morena. It'll need a new name. Adamar stood and glared at Kezis. The clash of their opposing king's force seemed likely to rip the tower down around us, but it lasted only for a moment. Without another word, Adamar spun on his heel, crossed to the nearest balcony door, jerked it open, and flew quickly out of sight. Even Kezis, always so carefully controlled, could not hide a half-formed smirk before he returned his attention to the rest of the group. A chair appeared behind me, and the rest shifted slightly to accommodate it. Those sitting in them hardly seemed to notice. Speaking of names, Arthur, you will have to name yourself, Kezis said, forcing a tight smile to more fully hide his smirk. Have you given any thought to such a thing? I opened my mouth, but not to speak, realizing that I had completely failed to consider what my race might be called. Despite the Asura's decision, I wasn't sure if I'd ever think of myself as anything other than human. I have a suggestion, Varun said. He paused to cough in his hand before giving the others an apologetic smile. Long ago, I guarantee you, this motherfucker name, this name that he's about to give, is calculated. It's calculated to piss Kezis off. I guarantee you. I have a suggestion, Varun said. He paused to cough in his hand before giving the others an apologetic smile. Long ago, it was theorized that beings of power might one day coalesce out of the barrier between worlds itself, formed of that power and carrying the spark of it as their consciousness. Beings of power might one day coalesce, right, out of the barrier between worlds itself. So is he talking about Ephiodus and the actual world that Dicaphan is in? Is he talking about the ether? Because he talked about consciousness, and we know that ether has a sense of consciousness. Beings of great power might one day coalesce out of the barrier between worlds itself. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he's talking about the ether barrier. Formed out of that power and carrying the spark. We know like the spark of life come out of them, which is like the little bit of ether. The spark Yeah, the spark of their consciousness, right? The power in carrying the spark of their consciousness. He paused, taking a few breaths before continuing to speak. Their appearance never manifested, but the name we gave their myth still echoes down through the ages today. I can't even pronounce this shit. The Archians? The Archons? The Archons. Or the Archians. Or Archons. Something like that. Archons? If the Thyaci's clan rebel, why would, if they, okay, let's go with that, Animation City. If they did rebel, who's gonna join them? Like, the Titan race ain't gonna join them and be like, I ain't about to join you and fucking get slaughtered and get my clan out of the Great Eight and have them lift somebody else up. Lift somebody else up. So if they rebel, you're basically just saying that either, I mean, they could be like, I don't want to be part of the Great Eight. I think they could probably do that, right? They could probably be like, I don't want to be part of the Great Eight anymore, and just lift another Thyestes, or lift another Pantheon race clan up into the Great Eight. They could probably do that, but I don't see why they would do that though. Clan Thanos, that's funny. I think it's Archon, Archons, the Archons, some shit like that. Radix said, steepling his fingers into the front of him and breathing through the shape it made. There was a flare of mana, but I couldn't tell what he'd done. Kezis eyed me curiously for several seconds. Arthur Lewin, head of his clan. Archon of the Great Eight. Is this acceptable to you? Okay, Archon. I like it. Regis thought immediately. It's very August, you know? What the fuck does that mean? It's very August. August Alsina? I don't know what that means. You know, regal. One might even say majestic. Doing my best to ignore him, I addressed Kezis. I accept your offer to be recognized as a member of the Asuran race and the name of Archon. Or Archon. I really need to figure out how to say this fucking word. Thank you to Vuron. Thank you to Vuron, I added. I appreciate everything this council has said. Very well. Arthur Lewin, Lord of the Archon race. Welcome to the Great Eight. Now, I'm afraid I have other business to attend to, Kezis said abruptly. I encourage each of you to carefully consider what today's decision means for your people. Then, just like that, he was gone. None of the others seemed surprised. Rai and Novus turned to each other and began speaking in low voices. Rowena, Radix, and Varan each stood while Nefeli blew over to me on a gust of wind that tossed my hair and made the fabric of my shirt flutter. Oh, but thank the summer grass and winter winds for a short meeting, she said, her tone softening as she released some of the forced cheer she'd held on to through the meeting. It is tedious being indoors, don't you think? These meetings will be a lot more productive under the open sky or the boughs of trees. She grew wistful and stared out the window. I think I'll go for a while. I've had enough of great events and the insides of buildings for a day. Or for one day. Nefeli's body became incorporeal and mostly invisible. Little more than the shape of her drawn-in white lines of sand, or white lines of wind. She grinned, her eyes pressed shut, and she flew out through an open window, did several twirling somersaults, then vanished against the blue sky and the floor of white gray clouds. I've learned of the sylphs, of course, but I've expected their queen to be more refined, Sylvie thought as she watched Nefeli go. Okay, so you're saying the Archons? But what about the H? There's an H. You gotta pronounce the H. You can't just put an H in a fucking word and then just, oh, we got this H in there, but you don't have to pronounce that shit. It's just silent. Like Home Depot, we don't pronounce the T. Why don't we pronounce the T? Who fucking knows? They just don't pronounce the T. Home Depot, But it's pronounced Home Depot. It's just how the fucking English language works. And you saying Archons. Well, there's an H. It got to be Archons or some shit. I'll just go with that, though. I'll go with Archons. Archons is a lot better than Archons or Archons or whatever the fuck. See, I try to pronounce the words the way they're spelled, but you can't do that shit. You just can't. You really can't. Oh, Lord. But I appreciate the likes that you guys gave for the video. Remember to like the video. Like my video. Giving some more push in the algorithm. Help me out. Every like helps. You know, I only get a few of them anyway. But yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the likes, though. So, we're going to go with Archons. Micah, we're going to go with Archons. I'm going to say Archons. Even though there's an H, and you got to pronounce that shit, but we're not going to pronounce it because it's Archons. Because that's just how we do. Thank the West in the English language. So she thought she'd be more refined. I don't trust her, Regis answered. To be fair, I don't trust any of them, but she seems a little flighty. She's definitely flighty for sure. He gave a barking laugh at his own joke. I held back my groan, focusing instead on Radix, who was reaching for my hand. Thank you for your vote of confidence, I said as I took it. Confidence? His beard twitched with apparent amusement. No, Lord Lewin. Do not thank us for what you have done. It isn't a gift, nor does it show confidence. Each of my fellow lords and ladies will have their own reasons, but mine I will call a fledgling understanding. His gemstone... What the fuck does he understand? What did he read from looking at those stones, bro? The God runes. His gemstone eyes sparkled. Until next we meet then. His hand released mine, and the Titan descended the stairs without a glance back. Marwana gave me the same respectful bow the others had shared when first arriving at the meeting chamber. Do not celebrate this as a victory. It is a responsibility of the highest honor to represent your people among the Great Eight. Our choices shape worlds, Lord Lewin. Moving as stiff and as straight as a tree with legs, the Hamadryad followed Radix down the stairs. This was nicely done, Arthur, Varun said, standing straight, unbent now that the proceedings were over. A good show with the God rooms. Even caught me off guard, if I'm being honest. Bruh, yo, right? We need a one-on-one meeting with Varun, bruh. We need to figure out what the fuck is this motherfucker's scheme. He said, even a nice show with the God rooms. Okay. Even caught me off guard, if I'm being honest. I glanced at the Phoenix and Basilisk and raised my brows slightly. He was like, wait, are you sure you want to talk about this around the Phoenix and the Basilisk, bro? Like, the Basilisk, he's the one that said, and then the Phoenix, bro? Like, what's going on? Varun waved away any concerns I had about speaking in front of the others. Lord Avignus, whatever the fuck his name is, and Kothan are as interested to see what you might accomplish with your new station as I am, Arthur. It may have seemed like a sudden decision today, but we have spoken at length about this possibility. Rai and Navis stood as Varun spoke, and they both nodded their agreement. Before I go, I'd like to extend my invitation to visit my family within my home. Featherwalk Airy, whatever, is a tradition for a newly named representative of the Great Eight. Generally, to travel Ephiodus and present themselves to the other lords. There will be an official ceremony later, of course. Novus gave me a pained smile. I think it took, half a decade to plan the ceremony for my own naming. Even after Clan Avignus, I don't know if fuck you said his name, was promoted to the Great Eight. Clan Kothan extended the same invitation, of course, at your leisure. Rai added. Unlike Novus, he had a pinched expression, and was clearly worrying over something, but he didn't speak his fears out loud. The way things move here may seem very slow to someone used to moving at the speeds of lessers, but I'm certain you'll adjust to a somewhat longer-lived pace. Okay. We'd be honored to meet your clan, Sylvie said. For the moment, though, our own clan needs to be informed of today's events. Right. Novus and Rai exchanged a look at the words. Our own clan. Oh, right, because she's part of Clan Leywin, bro. We Sylvie Leywin. We ain't Sylvie what the fuck is it? What the fuck is they called? When is Sylvie Indrath? We'd be honored to meet your clans, Sylvie said. For the moment, though, our own clan needs to be informed of today's events. Novus and Rai exchanged a look at the words. Our own clan. But neither mentioned it. Instead, they wished us farewell for the moment and left out different balcony doors. Might I escort you back to Everburn, Arthur? Varun said, holding open the door Novus had just left from. Of course. Thank you, Varun. As we took flight, I yearned to fully activate King's Gambit to better dissect what had been said during the meeting. I was afraid, however, to give Varun or anyone else who might be watching the wrong impression. Instead, I let my body go on autopilot and turned all the branches of my thoughts to the meeting, aware only of the occasional words shared between Varun and Sylvia as we flew. Of some things I was certain, but the meeting had left more questions than it had provided answers. Yeah, so this whole meeting shit, right? This whole meeting that happened, it definitely seemed like a little bit staged. Like, I feel like Kezis was put on the act, like he was already okay with agreeing with Arthur actually becoming part of the Great Eight, or the Fine Nine to begin with, right? And I don't know, everything happened so quick. Like, they literally said that it took 50 years for them to decide to, and then all of a sudden they doing this shit in just one meeting. So, like, I don't know what this means. And then he can't just kill a member of the Fine Nine, right? So is Arthur's deal with Kezis even valid anymore because he's got the power of the Fine Nine, Yeah, English is wild as fuck. I complain about it all the time. If you've been following me for a while, you've probably seen it like every other video, or probably every video, I complain about the English language, man. It's the most trashiest, hardest to understand language in the fucking world. It makes no sense. Nothing's consistent. We got silent letters, silent sounds that make different sounds, and it's not consistent at all. Like, it's the most fucked up shit. I feel bad for anybody who's got to learn English. Like, part of me feels like I should have been born in a different country so I can learn a different language. Like Japanese, I would love to understand Japanese. It seems like it's so simple, Like, the words actually make sense. Like, the sounds are all consistent, right? Like in Japan, the I makes the E sound. So every time you see an I at the end, it's always pronounced E. Kakashi. What is his name? Neji. Jet Li. Even though Li is more of a Chinese. Well, okay. Never mind. Forget Jet Li. But you know what I'm saying, right? So English is just fucking stupid. But then again, I'm kind of happy to be born and know English, because you by default the hardest language, and so if you want to learn a different language, everything else after English is going to be a whole lot easier to understand. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of go back and forth. But anyway, so Varun is going to escort him back, and so he's going through his mind about everything that happened. So here's what I was saying. So I think that Kezis was already okay with him becoming part of the Great Eight. I don't know about Adamir though. The leader of the Thyestes clan. I don't know if that was a stage thing or if he's really that pissed off. I guess he really is pissed off. Kezis gave him that little smirk, and I'm just like, okay, so he's like, oh, he's pissed off because he's part of the Fine Nine, right? So I guess that was probably real. I don't know. Everybody else is really interesting. Fucking Nefeli, yo, she's all whimsical. We gonna just fly, and the fucking clothes fluttering everywhere. Like, that's kind of funny though. And then you got the Basilisk guy show up. Okay, let me just keep going because I can kind of give my thoughts a little bit later. So, of some things I was certain, but the meeting had left more questions than it had provided answers. I was confident that Kezis had manipulated things in order to put Adamir on the outside. But why? Was I just a pawn in some larger game I didn't understand? And were the other lords playing the same game of their own? Am I really being placed on even footing with these ancient beings, or do they see me as a pet? I could hazard several guesses on why Kezis might really have allowed my ascension. Even if he feigned otherwise, I couldn't discount the fact that I had just become subservient to him in a way I hadn't been before. Yes, you're subservient, yes, but you're not like in the wild open for anybody to kind of fuck with. You know what I'm saying? So like you might have some more subservience at this point, but you're also protected in a sense though, right? It's like working under a mob boss, right? It's like, oh yeah, you had your own little thing you were doing by yourself, but anybody can come and attack you and they can come on your territory, take out your crew. But if you commit yourself and what is it? What is it called? When you become subservient to the other person, like you I don't know. Whatever it's called. When you become subservient to somebody else who has a higher standing than you, yes, you're under them, but you're more protected, so that way you get some of their benefits, you get some of their connections that you might not have before. They're going to take care of you. Your family's going to be more protected, because if they fuck with you, they fuck with them. And you know what I'm saying? So I guess in that sense, he's like more protected. So I don't think it's a bad thing. So I couldn't discount the fact that I'd become subservient to him in a way I haven't been before. And yet I also had a certain equality with him, now recognized officially by the rest of the Great Eight. But how independent are they each, really? Regis thought from where he hovered near my core. That was a good question. Despite their claim that the Great Eight was a ruling council, it has seemed that everything still hinged on what Kez's will. That's what I'm saying. Like, oh yeah, we're a ruling council, but did y'all vote to decide to wipe out the Jinn? No, y'all didn't do that. Can y'all talk about the Jinn now? What would have happened if everyone else had been in agreement, but he had still declined? I became distantly aware that someone was speaking to me. I'm sorry, what? Varun gave me an inscrutable look. Forgive me, Arthur. Clearly you were deep in thought, which I understand entirely. I do not wish to intrude on your first meeting with your newly named clan, and so I will leave you here. Glancing around, I realized we were already on the outskirts of the city. Before I go, however, I wish to extend the same offer as Lord Cothan and Avageness. Please visit me in my home. It is on the very coast of the Great Boundary Sea. I think you will find it worth the journey. Look at him. Look at him speaking in code. I think you will find it worth the journey. There is much yet for us to discuss, I think. I will, of course, I answered, genuinely interested in the Leviathan's home. But first, I am afraid I need to settle something. My friend Tessia has waited patiently for me here, but it is time for her to return home. Cheerfully stating his understanding, Varun dismissed himself with a wait. Can he get home whenever he feels like it? I guess he could open up a portal to the relic tombs, right? Cheerfully stating his understanding, Varun dismissed himself. With a wave, he disappeared into a wave of rolling, frothy seawater. The way these motherfuckers exit is crazy, yo. His ass just leaving on a wave of frothy seawater, and Nefeli just leaving on a wisp of wind through the air, turning translucent and shit. We completed our journey in the air, flying over the rooftops of Everburn. As we approached the residence where my family had been staying, I landed on a sloped roof of a house not far down the street, careful not to dislodge the tiles, and looked down on Ellie, Mom, and Tessie. They were sitting at the table in the small front yard and chatting animatedly with a couple of young dragons who appeared to have stopped on their way past, their arms laden with cloth bags, likely from the market. Everything was going to change now. My life would never be the same, and neither would theirs. The risk suddenly seemed borderline foolhardy. The danger creeping in every direction. I was a clan of 5. Sylvie, Regis, Arthur, Alice, and Ellie. Unless he marries Tessia, then Tessia would be part of it too, right? I was a clan of 5. And 2 of them were humans. Sylvia and Regis remained silent, not intruding on my introspection, but dressing me against the weight of my thoughts. We sat like that for a long time until Mom, Tess, and Ellie all stood and went back inside. I sighed and prepared to inform my family that they had been promoted to deities. That's funny as hell. Okay, so there is another chapter. Okay, sheesh. It is 2:19. Should I go and read another chapter, or should I just leave it right here and continue on this? Maybe I could do one chapter tomorrow. I guess just let me know if you think I should keep going and read another chapter. I feel okay. I don't feel like my voice is kind of killing me or anything. I'm kind of thinking. I kind of wouldn't mind digesting this chapter because it's kind of crazy as hell. The fact that he's part of the Great Eight now, but he got more responsibility now. And his family just became deities. They gotta get stronger though, especially Alice. Alice has to get stronger, man. She's she got Jim bloodline. Like, she needs to get stronger. She needs to start using some ether spells and some spell forms and start doing some shit to better protect herself because she's so weak and vulnerable right now. So it'd be nice if she got some training or something. Do I want to read the next chapter? I gotta think. I really gotta think. I guess I'll just read it. I'll read it, and I'll get through this chapter, and then that way I can kind of just digest these last few chapters over the next few days. Yeah, the next few days. The Promise. Okay. Tessia Airlift. Okay. I'm reading it. Okay. All right. Cool. So Tessia Airlift. It's so strange always being the center of attention, Alice said as she refilled our glasses with cold water from a pitcher. We're just these very plain people surrounded by actual deities, or at least what we've always thought of as deities, but they're all so interested in us. She stared down into the picture, her eyes glazing over. It feels like I've slipped and fallen into someone else's life. Sheesh. Sneezing like crazy. Anyway, it feels like I've slipped and fallen into someone else's life. So she still feels like this, like she still got this out of body experience, like she's not in her own life or body anymore. I mean, it's kind of fucked up having your whole body and shit taken over by somebody else and just being trapped and not being able to do shit. I twirled a lock of hair around my finger as I considered the dragons we've been speaking with. I guess I was always the center of attention in Ellenwire, but they seemed a lot more interested in the fact that I'm an elf. Yeah, in the fact that I'm an elf than a princess. The things they ask about. I chuckled, and Ellie and Alice laughed alongside me. Yeah, they're kind of weird, Ellie said with an amused smile. One little girl insisted I couldn't really be a lesser because she'd been told lessers could barely speak or stand upright. Well, things here are going to get a whole lot weirder. We all turned toward the door where Arthur had just pushed back the curtain. I began to smile, but the expression faltered as I processed his words and the pained expression on his face. Ellie's hands flew to her face and she slumped back into the seat she'd been hunkering on the edge of. No, they didn't. You can't be serious. So she's like, what the fuck? Alice's hand began to shake. They're all I bet he's playing a joke. Bro. Like, this serious face. Like, why you got this serious face, yo? Fucking Alice's fucking hands shaking. Ellie's like, oh my God, you can't be serious. Like, yes, I'm afraid that you've become a deity. That would be some funny shit. Alice's hand began to shake. I quickly took the picture from her and set it down on the tile top end table before it spilled. You better sit down. He's making this shit so serious. He's making this shit so serious. He's like, you better sit down. Would you like a glass of tea? Like, bruh, he's making this shit so dramatic, yo. Holy fuck. It's funny, though. That's like the best way to tease somebody, though. They're already preparing for some weird shit to happen. He was like, I'm afraid it's got even weirder. You better sit down for this. You better sit down, Arthur said, rubbing the back of his neck in that silly way he'd done since he was a kid. His words and demeanor could mean only one thing. He's fucking with them. As Ellie and Alice both seemed to have already guessed, the Asuras had agreed to Lord Echolai's proposal. I found myself wishing that Arthur hadn't spent so much of these last couple of weeks away. He would certainly be pulled into other duties, and it was likely there would be little time to work through everything between us, and that needed to be addressed. Still, I told myself, perhaps that was for the best. Maybe what we really needed was time. Y'all already had time apart. Y'all don't need more time. That shit don't even make sense. Forcing myself to appear calm, I took a seat next to Ellie, who had pulled her legs up into the seat tight against her chest. I have officially been named an Asur, Arthur said. He spoke mostly to his mother, but twice his eyes flicked to mine, almost too rapidly to notice. I'm the first of a new race. And, wait, what do we call it? Archon. An Archon. I felt my eyes glaze over, my thoughts disassociating from my physical presence as I struggled to understand what this meant. So much had changed since we sat above the wall and made our promise to each other, a promise to stay alive, to have a future together, a relationship, a family. It had been a beautiful moment. It was lovely. But Grandpa Furion had taught me early. No plan survives contact with the opponent. Was it fair now, after everything that had happened, to hold Arthur to a sweet promise made naively in the middle of a war that neither of us could control the outcome of? Probably not. Y'all probably need to reassess this promise and see if it's still feasible. Like, are they going to expect Arthur to live in Ephiodus now? Or are they going to be like, you can just kind of travel back and forth because you kind of represent your people and shit? The room had gone silent. I forced myself to focus. Ellie sat beside me, thunderstruck. I could see the gears of her mind working, and her mouth moved silently, but she seemed at a loss for words. Alice, on the other hand, was looking at Arthur as if he just told her to wrestle a world lion with her bare hands. I shared their feelings, but I couldn't let those feelings run away with me. What happens now? I asked, to break the silence. What does this change exactly? And how would this affect Dicathon and Alacria? Arthur hesitated, exchanging a glance with Sylvie. Although a new race has been invented for me, really, I'll be a representative for our world among the Asura. In the end, I think it's necessary to ensure protection for both Dicathon and Alacria. His head drooped slightly. With this authority, I can make sure what happened in Eleanor never happens again. I nodded, and the conversation continued. Ellie and Alice asking a few questions of their own, despite my best efforts. The longer we spoke, the wearier I began to feel. Afraid that my control might slip and derail the conversation, I waited for a lull and excused myself. Returning to my room and sagging into the bed, closing my eyes, I breathed deeply and thought back to my lessons. I can't control the world around me, but I can control myself in the way I move within it. It was a lesson my father had tried to drill into my head when I was only a small girl, but I don't think I've ever truly appreciated this meaning until I lost that control. Outside the room, Arthur continued speaking, although I would have sworn I could feel his gaze lingering on the room curtain separating us. We've been invited, I think is more of an expectation, honestly, to visit some of the other lords at their homes. Oh, that's, Alice started, but then trailed off, her voice weak. I know, Mom, Arthur answered. The sound of his voice changed. He must have moved across the room. I know what I'm asking you to do, and I know how dangerous this is for all of us, but I took a deep breath, forcing myself to remain calm. The idea of being dragged to another Asuran city made my insides clench like a bloody fist. I missed my family. I missed my home. I was ready to return to Decathlon. I knew Eleanor was gone. My mother and father were gone, but I wanted to see my grandfather. I wanted to be with the elves, to hug them and cry with them, to mourn our shared losses in a way I hadn't been able to yet. Not while I was locked away beneath Cecilia's will. The rustling of the curtain made me turn my head. I was expecting, or maybe just hoping, to see Arthur there, but I wasn't disappointed when Sylvie stepped into the room and let the curtain fall behind her. She looked down at me with such understanding. It's crazy to think about Sylvie. Like, she was born like not that long ago, and now she's like, "Oh my God, you looking down at me with such understanding." Um, she looked down at me with such understanding that the pressure of sudden tears swelled up behind my eyes as if out of nowhere. I sat up, kicked my legs over the edge of the bed, and blinked back the wetness in my eyes. Sylvie eased down next to me. Instead of speaking, she rested her head on my shoulder. We sat there like that, just the two of us, for quite a while. In her presence, I felt myself settling again. She had a way of transporting me out of the moment and taking me back into the simpler days. It was so strange that the little fox-like beast that used to ride around on Arthur's head had grown into this powerful, empathetic young woman. I could so clearly remember when she had first hatched in Zaestir. I sank into the moment, enjoying the peace and quiet. Instead of worrying about the future, I listened to the rustling of our clothes made against the bed sheets with each small movement. I watched as the sunlight refracted through the window to sparkle against the walls. I listened to our breathing as we fell into sync with each other, and sensed the thrumming of Sylvia's mana signature, or Sylvie, not Sylvia's, Sylvie's mana signature beside me, moving with the same subtle twitchiness as eyes beneath closed lids. Slowly, the tension all released. "Thanks," I said eventually. She reached out and grabbed my hand, taking it in both of her own. "I wanted to tell you," I started, suddenly awkward. I knew what I wanted to say, but the words themselves seemed difficult to hold on to. "Good luck, when you go to visit the other Asur." Good luck, when you go to visit the other Asur. You'll protect him. Never mind. I know you will. I'm sorry I'll miss it, but I need to go home. Her hand squeezed mine. Of course, Arthur told them that they'd have to wait. She regarded me with sudden understanding, then a sympathetic smile. "We're taking you home first, Tessie." The air changed as I stepped out of the portal into the darkness. Appearing so suddenly in the cool, dark underground felt like walking after Everburn's nearly perfect atmosphere. Like that Catherine was more real somehow. They just skipped to the part where she went back home, bruh? Damn. I thought they was going to show like how she got home. Okay, so like it was real. My eyes began to adjust, and I found myself standing in the center of a wide, nondescript tunnel. Arthur was already there, having arrived through the portal first. Behind me, Ellie and Boo appeared, followed by Alice and then Sylvie. Our appearance was met by a shout, and we all looked to see several heavily armed dwarven guards hurrying toward us. Behind them was a roughly made wall inset with a small gate. Before they could reach us, another figure came through the portal, dressed in the same richly appointed materialistic uniform I'd always seen him in, and otherworldly eyes unreadable. Winsome brought the dwarves up short with a glance. Winsome. That motherfucker Winsome, bruh. Okay, let's see what he... So the portal, so Winsome made the portal. Okay, I got it. So they got back from Winsome. Okay, I got it. I was like, how did Arthur gonna get back home? He got to figure out a way to navigate, right? He's got to figure out some way, right? I mean, are the dragons the only ones who can come in and out of the world? They couldn't be, because... No, they couldn't be. So, I mean, if he's part of the Great Eight, which is the Fine Nine, he's got to be able to find a way to be able to traverse the world, the plane, right? On first seeing Winsome, I had been thrown back to the battle between Cecilia, Nico, and him. This dragon had helped General Aldir burn Elenwar to ashes. It was mostly catatonic at the time. I was mostly catatonic at the time, but Cecilia's memories of the fight were clear enough. It seemed patiently unfair that this dragon was still happily serving his lord. It would have flit between our world and his at a moment's notice, while the shattered remains of my people were cast off and homeless with nowhere to go. Dar, as requested, Winsome said in his clipped manner. The city of Vodurio is beyond that gate, he indicated the guards. Virian, Aerolith, and a procession of elves are here. Though the bulk of the refugees were relocated before Agruna's last attack. The dwarves, finally able to look past Winsome and the rest of us, recognized Arthur immediately. Regent Lewin, you're alive! The dwarf in charge turned to one of his men. Go to Lodenhold immediately. Inform Lord Earthborns and Silvershell that... Hold that thought, Arthur said, raising a hand. I have business to attend to. Then I'll go to the council myself. I wonder when he's going to go... to, what's his name? Mordain. I wonder when he's going to go to Mordain and find Chul and see what's going to be the consequences of Mordain and Chul and shit. Hold that thought, Arthur said, raising a hand. I have business to attend to. Then I'll go to the council myself. The dwarves looked at each other awkwardly, but none of them moved. Well, Arthur, if there's nothing else, I'm afraid I am too busy to shuttle you around. Lord Lewin, Arthur said, cutting Winsome off. Like, correct that shit, bruh. Lord Lewin, all right? Listen, you gotta let him know. Gotta put him on notice. Like, bro, you talking to a lord now, all right? Show me the respect, all right? Show me the respect. That's funny. That's funny as hell. Well, Arthur, if there's nothing else, I'm afraid I'm too busy to show you around. Lord Lewin, Arthur said, cutting Winsome off. Despite my anger toward Winsome, I couldn't help but flinch at the confrontation of their opposing intents. Bruh, Arthur will wipe the floor with Winsome, bruh. It will be a fucking annihilation. He'd be ripping off limbs. He'd be ripping off wings, talons, just cutting them bitches off. I would love to see it. Despite my anger toward Winsome, I couldn't help but flinch at the confrontation of their imposing intents. It wasn't only me, as Alice and Ellie instinctively backed away within the confines of the dim tunnel, and Boo moved to shield them from the conflict. Of course, Lord Lewin, I apologize. Winsome bowed low, hiding his expression from sight. No problem, Winsome. Arthur's gaze was penetrating, his tone frosty. It's quite the change for you to get used to, I know, but I'm certain you will. Of course, there's sort of faint an attitude of civility, but I could practically see his irritation, something just beneath his skin. I'll return in 2 days to open the way back to Ephiodus. You're dismissed for now then, Arthur said. He just keep giving them jabs and just more jabs and more jabs. Oh yeah, Lord Lewin, okay? Jab in the face. Oh, I'm pretty sure some things will change, but I'm sure you'll get used to the new change. Jab, you're dismissed. Jab, right? Fucking just oh, I'm hurt. This is funny as hell. Fuck, I'm dying, bro. Okay. You're dismissed for now then, Arthur said, turning away from Winsome. The dwarven guards who had watched the exchange like wide-eyed statues bent in deep bow before Winsome as he turned toward the portal. I caught Ellie and Alice exchange a glance, but neither moved to show any, wait, what the fuck is this word? Obedience to him, I guess? I don't know. I raised my chin and stood tall, but he did not look back at any of us before vanishing into the portal which then melted away. I didn't voice my thoughts out loud to Arthur, but I felt a thrill at seeing him put Winsome in his place, bro. She's like, oh shit, that shit's making me feel some things. Oh my god. She's liking it. She's liking it. Anyway, a voice, yeah, so she didn't voice her thoughts. A part of me wished that Arthur had been even crueler. Oh, she was like, I want to see you rip those fucking wings off him, bro. Okay, okay. She's got a nasty dark side. Okay. The thought soon soured as soon as I had it. I'm not Cecilia to take pleasure in such things. Arthur approached the guards and waved for them to stand. I pushed the thoughts away, making room for the jittery nerves I felt at the thought of seeing Grandpa Virion. A hand slipped into mine, and I looked over at Ellie, who smiled. You've got that face on again. I gave her an embarrassed smile back. Over the last 2 weeks, she started calling me out whenever I had my worried face on. Oh, I'm sorry. Please, don't apologize, Sylvie said from my other side, just before taking that hand. Bro, she got so much support. She got the girl power support, yo. She got the girl Ellie on one side, Sylvie on the other side. Girl power. We're here for you. Not no manufactured bullshit ass woke support, right? Oh yeah, girl power. We need to have our girl moment. No, genuine support. Like, I really care about you. I'm really here to try to give you confidence and reassure you. You know, real support. So that's good. So don't apologize. As she took her other hand. So the three of us were walking along in a chain like we were children. You've been through a lot, and you've only had a couple weeks to recover. That kind of trauma could take years just to start unraveling. Geez, thanks, I said teasingly, pulling Sylvie closer so our shoulders bumped together. The three of us all shared a laugh. The guards opened the gate, and Arthur exchanged a few more quiet words with them as the rest of us stepped through into the massive cavern that housed the city of Verdoria. Wow, I said, turning around to take in the entire cavern. Verdoria wasn't unlike a beehive that had been turned inside out. Dwellings of all shapes and sizes were carved into the outer walls, while a curving highway circled round and round as it descended, connecting the various levels. Its people, mostly dwarves, moved about busily, I guess I said that, some wearing large packs and others dragging carts or leading mana beasts to do it for them. The flow of traffic past us began to slow as people realized that Arthur was with us. He quickly began leading us up the highway as the first shout of "Lance Arthur!" resounded through the cavern. The crowd gathered behind us, with many of the dwarves abandoning what they were doing to follow along and shout out their thanks or messages of welcome. But not all of them were glad for his presence. You abandoned us! What? Bro, what are you talking about? One woman yelled, my boy is dead! That's not his responsibility, bruh. Tell that to your king. Oh, wait, he's dead. Because what? Because he tried to sell everybody out to a Grona. Anyway. The Lacrians killed him when they attacked. Where were you? Someone tried to grab her, but she shoved them away. Our regent? Our protector? Look at him! The last part was directed at the gathered crowd. He's no better than the dragons of Alacria! Oh, the dragons or the Alacrians, right. You shut your mouth! A rough-looking dwarf yelled. They're just letting them all go! Wait, they're just letting them all go. Oh, another man shouted, gaping at Arthur desperately. The Alacrians who attacked us! Letting them go! Enough with the outsiders, the first woman shouted. Dar for the dwarves! Hang them all by their... Someone else shoved the woman and a scuffle quickly broke out, interrupting the frenzied triad. Boo began to growl. I think if Arthur really wants to stop all this, he just got to use his king's force, suffocate everybody, and then everybody calm the fuck down. Someone else shoved the woman and a scuffle quickly broke out, interrupting the frenzied triad. Blue began to growl, interposing himself between Ellie and the aggressors. Arthur hadn't paid the shouting any mind, but now he stopped and turned back. As physical blows started to fly, he wadded into the melee, separating the dwarves with his presence alone. The brawl ended abruptly as it began. A group of nearby guards had stared in our direction, hesitated, and glanced at each other nervously. This is like, I don't know. He could just do whatever the fuck he want. I'm sorry for your loss, Arthur said, his voice soft enough that the dwarves around him had to strain to listen. I'm sorry for all who lost their loved ones in this war. Whether it was the last battle or the first ones years ago, he continued, looking around everyone. I know all kinds of rumors must have spread in the absence of factual information over these last couple of weeks. Don't fall prey to those who would feed on your fears. I am on the way now to explain everything to your leaders. They will share the truth soon enough. Wide-eyed, sweating dwarves watched as Arthur moved among them. A couple even reached out, their fingers brushing his arm or the back of his hand. They lingered there as we moved on. The whole crowd just kind of standing in the highway, clearly uncertain what to do. Well, it's to be expected, I suppose, Ellie said softly, almost as if she were talking to herself. I hope everyone's okay. We'll find out soon enough, Arthur said over his shoulder. The highway led directly to the Dwarven Palace, but Arthur did not take us to see the Dwarven lords. Instead, he guided us into a series of smaller tunnels and eventually to a very long switchback stair, which you passed through a small cave into. Oh right, he's probably gonna show her the place that Virion had kept alive, right? Or kept like, it's like a reminder. Well, so we passed through a small cave into something I hadn't expected at all. I knew that Arthur was leading us to Grandpa Virion, and I felt like we've climbed nearly all the way to the surface to reach this chamber, but even then, I would have expected desert, not this. A gorgeous oasis within all the stone opened up before us. The grotto was brightly lit by little bobbing lights that floated and danced over the verdant green moss and emerald vines that grew to hide the walls. Most amazing of all, though, was the large tree that filled up the center of the grotto. I recognized its broad leaves and pink buds immediately. This tree is from Elshire Forest, and it gives this place its name, Arthur said softly. This is the Elshire Grove. It's beautiful, I said, looking around again. This time my focus caught on a patch of ground where the moss had been cleared away in favor of dark, fresh soil. Many seedlings poked up in neat rows. It was among the seedlings that I first sensed my grandfather's signature, and my head jerked back to the tree just as he stepped out of the small house grown into the branches. Arthur, is that you? His voice trailed off as he looked down from the balcony of the small treehouse. A fear I had been quietly nursing came rushing forward. Cecilia had done terrible things while wearing my face, my body. The average dwarf on the street might not have recognized me or her by sight, but I was terrified that my grandfather would see not me but her. I didn't think I could stand to see the look of horror on his face at my appearance, and yet, as his jaw slackened and his eyes grew wide and sparkling, a light seemed to shine through from within them. There was nothing like apprehension or horror on his face, and in an instant I watched as years of fear, hardship melted from him. He sprang over the balcony rail, fell lightly to the ground over a dozen feet below, and sprinted toward me. Tessie, he choked, his throat constricted with emotion. Already feeling myself beginning to break, I ran to meet him. We collided, and Grandpa flung his arms around me. I collapsed into them, a desperate sob racking my body. All the stress, anxiety, confusion, existential dread I had felt over the last 2 weeks burst out of me like I had cast a water attribute spell from my eyes. Grandpa sank down to his knees, holding me like he'd done when I was just a child. He made calming noises and petted my hair. I lacked the wherewithal to feel shame or guilt at this display in front of Arthur and his family. How did you know? I gasped out through choked sobs, desperate for him to understand. You're my granddaughter, he said, his raspy voice as comfortable as a weighted blanket. One look at you is enough. As I continued to cry, it wasn't just the last couple of weeks that poured out of me. I couldn't easily calculate the exact length of time I had spent behind Cecilia from the moment Nico, captured me in Ellenwire to the final fateful hours after I helped Cecilia escape the relic tombs and return to Agrona. A year, probably more, but it had felt like a lifetime, 2 lifetimes. I died and been reborn an entirely changed person. And all of it, every agonizing moment of sharing mental space with the stunted, damaged child that was Cecilia, the memories of all the horrible things she had done while in my body, all the memories of Arthur's past life that Cecilia had shared, both the real and invented ones, every strange thing I'd experienced and discovered, it all came pouring out of me. Arthur was speaking. He said something about Agrona and the Asura, explaining where we've been for the last couple of weeks and why he didn't bring me home sooner. I'm sorry, I wish I could stay, but there are several other people I really need to speak to, and I'm not sure how long I'll be in Vildorio, he finished. We'll give you some time. Just be in each other's company. My sobbing subsided, and I wiped my eyes and began to disentangle myself from my grandfather. He had held me protectively, but I smiled up at him. No need to hold me so tightly, Grandpa. I promise I'm not going anywhere, but I need a moment alone with Arthur before he goes. Just a moment. The brat's had you for 2 weeks already. Looking into his eyes. He trailed off. His face was an indecipherable mess of conflicting emotions forged into a single expression, but joy and trust shone through brightest of all. With an understanding smile, he helped me stand and took a few steps back. Sylvie, Ellie, and Alice gave me hugs in turn and assured me that they'd be back to help me get settled in. Arthur then sent them ahead, explaining he would catch up before leading me to stand by the small, what the fuck is this word? Arboretum full of seedlings? Arboretum? Whatever the fuck that is. Full of seedlings. I bent down and ran my fingers through the soil. It was the richest I have ever seen, teeming with earth attribute mana. There is a touch of Epheotis in this. There is. It was a gift from Aldir, a token. Something to help make up for what he did, Arthur explained. Not that anything could. I'd already heard the truth of what had happened to Aldir, the Asura who burned my home. This information brought me no peace, but I couldn't help the spark of homesickness and hope that the Elshire trees brought me. What do you want to say? Arthur asked, leaning down beside me and pretending to examine the leaves of a tree. Really, though, all his attention was on me. He was taut as a drawn bowstring. I don't want to say the wrong thing or belabor it, so I'll try to be straightforward. I said the words rushing out of me. A lot has changed, Arthur. Too much. Everything. He opened his mouth to speak, but I pushed on, afraid that if I didn't, I'd lose my nerve. We've said it before. The promise we made. The moment. The words we shared. It was all so beautiful. And it was real. And it was important. There were so many times I wanted to just give up, to let myself fade, or sacrifice myself to destroy Cecilia. In the end, it was that promise between us that gave me the strength to survive when death was so much easier. But the truth is, I'm not the person you made that promise to anymore. And I'm not the person you thought I was when you made that promise, Arthur said plainly. He was calm, serious, understanding. I shook my head, and my hair fell down in front of my eyes. I know who you are, Arthur. I do. I do, really. And that's why I'm releasing you from the promise we made. Thank you for making it. I'll cherish that moment forever, but I won't cling to it at the expense of the world's future. What does that mean? At the expense? Cling to it at the expense of the world's future. But hold on. What is she thinking? Is she thinking like, I can't be with you because You got way more important things to be doing, and like you're part of the Great Eight, and so he's more important. And so like if he doesn't do that and he tries to stay on Earth with her, or not on Earth, whatever the fuck their planet's called, if he try to stay there with her, then maybe he won't be able to do all the things he want to do. I don't know what she's getting at when she says like sacrifice at the expense of the world's future. Okay, maybe she's gonna explain. I stood, brushing back my hair. Arthur immediately raised a hand to wipe away my tears, but there were none. He hesitated. I took his hand in both of mine and held it between us as I leaned forward and pressed my lips against his. My heart broke at the softness of his lips and the unsteady rhythm of his pulse, but my resolution didn't wane. The heart wants what the heart wants, but my spirit was at ease with my decision. Pulling away, I let myself dive into the twin golden orbs of his eyes. They really were the most beautiful eyes I'd ever seen. Be careful, Arthur, I heard myself say, barely cognizant of the words. Don't lose yourself in all this. I let his hand slip out of mine, and I turned away, knowing he needed me to. I could feel the intensity of his gaze on my back like the rays of the sun, and I bore it. Okay, so this is cool. This is a nice little ending. So I guess this means that she's not going to hold him to that promise because she thinks the world needs him and like he's too important, maybe. And she gave him like it seemed like a last kiss, like, oh, the heart wants what the heart wants, but my spirit was at ease with my decision. I know who you are, Arthur. I do really, and that's why I'm releasing you from your promise we made. Thank you for making it. I'll cherish that moment forever, but I won't cling to it at the expense of the world's future. Is she talking about cling to it like he won't be there for her? Like maybe she's going to be trying to help the future of her clan or something, and she doesn't want to cling to it at the expense of the world's future? I'm not sure, though. I'm really not sure. 66. Let me see what my trailer number is. 69002. Okay. Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. You guys, so you can tell me what you think about this because I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it seems to me like she doesn't really see an easy future with Arthur going forward because of everything that happened. You know, with him being part of SWORD and then like him being part of the Great Eight, and there's so much stuff that need to be done. So not only did she say, "I won't cling to it at the expense of the world's future." I took his hand in both of mine and held it between us as I leaned forward and pressed my lips against his. Be careful, Arthur. Don't lose yourself in all of this. So I think that's what she's thinking about. She's thinking about all the shit that he has to do and all the situations that he's going to be in, and she doesn't want to hold on to that in his hopes that he's going to someday have the time and energy. I mean, maybe she could, though. Like, she could be that safe haven where he can be like, okay, after I fucking take on the entire world and fucking do all this amazing shit to keep the world right, I can come back home and have peace with, you know, with Tessia, you know, have peace there, come back to his family or something. Or maybe he's gonna have too much to take care of to where he can't really be a father or something. Who knows if he can even have kids? He probably can, because just that's how stories be working. So I don't know. I'm curious what Arthur thinks about all this, because he didn't say shit. Like, she did all the talking and he didn't have no response to say anything. She literally said what she had to say. She said her piece, walked away, said, "Be careful, don't lose yourself in all of this," and that was that. She was like, "I gotta do this shit, and I'm not gonna hold you to that." So I guess at this point, it seems like she still wants it, but he has to decide whether or not he still wants it. Caravan said there's hope now, but I'm not gonna get my hopes up. No, 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 no. I don't think there's hope now. I think Arthur is too attached to her. They got too many memories together. Because my thing is this: what would make Kara, a relationship with Kara, more, I guess, sustainable than it would Tessia? Like, there is no difference. Like, he's still gonna have to deal with the shit he's gonna deal with. He's gotta deal with Alacria. He's gotta deal with Dicathin. He's gotta deal with Ephiotis. He's gotta deal with not only Ephiotis, but like all of the fucking Great Eight, the Fine Nine, Kezes. He's gotta deal with all that shit. He's got to deal with Alacria and all the fucking the shit that they're doing. They're waiting for Agrona, and like he got to go there and wipe the floor with all the rest of them, get their ass back on track with the help of Ceres. So like, I just think that she's just releasing him from it because she don't want to further burden him to think that, okay, he's got to do this and be this person for her and be there and we got to have a family and all this other stuff when it's so much other shit to worry about. But that's not going to change anything when it comes to being with Carrie. He still got so much other shit to worry about. So, and then like I said, he wouldn't turn around. He didn't even say anything. He's just like, "You're not the same person anymore." She pulled away. She said, "Be careful, don't lose yourself in all this." She slipped her hand out of his, turned away, and then he just bore his intensity gaze on her back, and she just walked away. So I don't think he's gonna be with Kara personally. I mean, they gave that motherfucker so many options, so he could like have his pick of the litter. Shit, it could be Kathleen, it could be Kara, it could be Tessia. I feel like there's some love. I feel like Veray has got a little thing for him too. It could be Veray. I still remember that hug, man. I still won't forget that hug that Veray gave him. Like that tender, soft, like surprising hug when she finally saw that he was alive. He had the other people protected. Fucking what's his name? Shit. Byron gave him a hug, the forehead touch. And then Veray came and just gave him this like tender, sweet little hug. I'm just like, oh shit, Veray. Veray always had his back with everything. She was like, I support you, whatever you want to do and shit. Back when he was trying to get Kara out the prison, he was like, come here with me. She fucking was like, she was by his side the whole way. So yeah, so Veray's 1, 2. But that's really about it though. But he's got his choice though. But I mean, Tessia is alright. I still don't understand why she didn't like. If she really wanted to protect the people she cared about, she should have just killed herself to get rid of Cecilia. That would have made the most sense if you're really trying to protect the people that you care about. But she didn't. I don't know. And then she was giving her all this sympathy because of how she grew up, and she's just ignorant child. And I'm just like, I don't know about all that shit. So yeah, I don't know about Tess. Tessie is fine. Tessie is cool. I want to see more of like who she is now as a person, but like, I don't know, the running away shit. She was still young. Yeah, her parents, traitors ass parents and shit. So, I mean, I'm all for Arthur being with Tessie. I'm all for it. Kara's just a completely different personality. Like Kara's just like she has these feelings, but she's more stoic. She cares about decorum and how she looks and shit. It's hard for her to be vulnerable and open up, but when she really does, like she really does and shit. Yeah, so I mean it's cool. But that's it for me, man. I appreciate y'all joining in. I got through 3 chapters. Count them. Three chapters. Got through 3 chapters. I'm late. Always fucking late. Making videos and shit. But I got through it though. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna just continue making the lives and stuff. I mean, maybe I might make a review every once in a while. But like I said, I just been on the road, man. Been on the road. I did a little vacation back in the Smoky. I don't know if y'all ever been to the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, but Smoky Mountains is pretty cool. I did a vacation there, it was like 8 days ago, some shit like that. But yeah, so I'm gonna try to get back into the swing of things. I really just try to be live when I'm not on the low. Like right now, I'm on a low going to Ohio, but I'm kind of just shut down. So I'm just like, okay, I'll go live right now because I'm shut down. I ain't got shit to. Well, it's not that I got shit to do. I got shit to do. The football game came on. I'll probably watch the highlights of that game. But yeah, I wanted to at least get up and not let the chapters build up too much. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to get too many chapters ahead. And so, but I think I might try to make some videos about Primal Hunter. I might make a video just kind of talking about the first book and kind of giving a summary of what the story is about. Kind of let you guys know what I like about it and kind of why I want to talk about it. And then if people kind of like it, I might just continue to just make some videos and maybe do some live reactions to that story. Because it's kind of cool where it's at right now. It's kind of cool where it's at. So there's that. But yeah, I just need to make more shit. I need to get more shit out. But anyway, I'm about to get out of here. You guys have a good night. Appreciate y'all joining in. And I'll check you guys out in the next video. Peace. Appreciate you guys. Nope. Let me get out of here. Gotta get out of here.